Welcome to the fantasy audiobook, Hokage. Many children, many blessings, starting with Mist Shinobi Kunoichi. Chapter 21. Kobayakawa Kazuma was slightly stunned. He had felt that the relationship between Iwatu and Shuilian was too close before, but he didn't expect that they were about to get married. Shuilian and Iwatu are a good match, Kobayakawa Kazuma said truthfully. In the system's evaluation, Shuilian's beauty is B level. There are probably not many female ninjas in Kurigakure whose beauty can reach B. Iwatu can marry Shuilian, which is considered to be a great fortune. After a while of greeting, Kobayakawa Kazuma returned home. He waited until about 1 o'clock in the morning. He came to the market on the east side of the village and entered the underground black market from the back kitchen of the fish vendor. The sign with the bounty of Zigwashan pig ghost still stood. Kobayakawa Kazuma walked around the black market and stopped from time to time, trying to find some B-level ninjutsu. However, most of the ninjutsu sold in the black market are rotten goods, and it is a waste of time to learn them. In fact, Kobayakawa Kazuma thought that the most perfect ninjutsu should be Rasengan, which can be ranked among the A-level ninjutsu just by changing the form of chakra. There was naturally no place selling Rasengan in the black market. Kobayakawa Kazuma searched for a while and saw 5 or 6 crystals in front of a stall and stopped. Sir, buy one. Chakra metal ore can be smelted into chakra metal. Only 200,000 taels per piece. The stall owner's voice was more female, and he took the initiative to introduce his goods. Kobayakawa Kazuma picked up a piece of ore and put it in his hand. As chakra was injected, the metal ore flashed with strange colors. Although these ores can react with chakra, Kobayakawa Kazuma knew that these ores were definitely not chakra metal ores. They should be some specially processed artificial ores and were not valuable. After picking and choosing among the ores, Kobayakawa Kazuma suddenly touched a stone that could conduct chakra. There is no doubt that this should be the real chakra metal ore. The stall owner must be someone who doesn't know the value of chakra metal ores, as he threw them into a pile of junk. The chakra metal content in these ores is extremely low, not even 1,000th, and I think 5,000 taels is too expensive. Kobayakawa Kazuma shook his head, threw the chakra ore down, and sighed slowly. The stall owner lowered his head, narrowed his eyes slightly, and smiled under the mask. Originally, these metal ores were not chakra metals, and they were put on the black market just to fool those novice ninjas. I didn't expect that someone would actually be fooled. What's even funnier is that in order to bargain, this person can make up a reason that the chakra metal content is extremely low. This guest is an expert at first glance. The chakra content of my ore is indeed a little lower. How about 8,000 taels apiece? The stall owner asked. 3,000 taels, if it's more, I won't buy it. Kobayakawa Kazuma waved his hand. Deal. The stall owner agreed, as if he was afraid that Kobayakawa Kazuma would go back on his word. Kobayakawa Kazuma spent 18,000 taels to buy all the crystal ore from the stall owner, and then left the black market. He threw away all the crystal ore, leaving only a fist-sized black stone, which was the real chakra metal. The price of chakra metal was about 10,000 taels per gram. As long as this ore could be smelted into more than 2 grams of chakra, today's money would not be wasted. The next day, Kazuma Kobayakawa went to find a craftsman affiliated with Kurigakure. A piece of chakra ore was smelted into nearly 15 grams of chakra metal, with a total value of 150,000 taels. Kazuma Kobayakawa made nearly 10 times the profit from this deal. He handed Darui's ninja sword to the craftsman and asked the craftsman to mix chakra metal into it and recast the ninja sword. A month later, the ninja sword was recast. The recast ninja sword seemed to be lighter and less laborious to swing. Kazuma Kobayakawa injected water attribute chakra into the ninja sword, and then chopped down at a tree that 3 people could hug. The ninja sword chopped into the middle of the tree. After the ninja sword was pulled out, the aftermath of chakra was still tearing the tree until a few minutes later. The previous ninja sword would not have such obvious chakra tearing marks after injecting water attribute chakra. This time, with the greatly increased content of chakra metal, the properties of water attribute chakra were brought into full play. If I had this ninja sword when fighting Troy would have almost lost his ability to fight when the first wound was cut. Kobayakawa Kazuma put away the ninja sword. In addition to ninjutsu, an excellent ninja sword is also a shortcut for ninjas to improve their strength. The sun above shone a halo of thick fog. In the village below the mountain, a black shadow flashed by and ran quickly into the dense forest in front. Yanliu and Shuilian followed closely behind. Yanliu held the ninja sword across his chest, which was the starting style of the sword technique. Yueying. The black shadow turned around, and he and Yanliu crossed each other, with a smile on his lips. Yanliu looked down, and a kunai had been inserted into his chest, and there were 3 detonating tags behind the kunai. The explosion sounded in the dense forest, and Yanliu's figure was submerged in the fire. He turned his head and opened his lips to Shuilian, as if telling something. Since returning from the Chunin exam, Kobayakawa Kazuma has been working harder to take on missions. 3 months have passed in the blink of an eye, and autumn has arrived. During these 3 months, there were many missions, and Kobayakawa Kazuma earned a total of 80,000 taels. With the remaining money from before, he already had a deposit of 220,000 taels. If I sell the current house, it should be enough for me to buy a 3-bedroom, 2-living-room house in a remote place. Kobayakawa Kazuma did a little calculation and felt a little more confident. With the increase in the number of people in the family, buying a bigger house has become a rigid demand. The newly married female ninja needs living space, and the current house is already very difficult for people like them to live in. After planning, Kobayakawa Kazuma posted an advertisement for selling real estate, and began to look around for properties with suitable prices. In recent days, the number of ninjas patrolling in Kurigakure has increased visibly, and Kobayakawa Kazuma can even see busy ninjas everywhere during the day. Hey, Kobayakawa Kazuma! Hoshigaki Kisame, who appeared at the corner of the road, greeted Kobayakawa Kazuma and said with a little dullness, "Be careful recently, those guys with bloodline limits are getting more and more serious. Especially John and Iwatu died in the battle, and Shuilian is still in the hospital and has not woken up." "What did you say? Especially John and Iwatu died?" Kobayakawa Kazuma asked in surprise. Obviously, when they met last time, Iwatu was still happily talking about marriage. It's only been 2 months, and such a big change has happened. If you care about them, go to the village hospital. Hoshigaki Kisame patted Kobayakawa Kazuma's shoulder and walked straight over. Kobayakawa Kazuma hurried to the hospital. He asked the nurse on duty at the front desk, confirmed the room of Water Lily, and rushed up. Pushing open the wooden door, Water Lily was lying quietly on the hospital bed. Her face was pale, and a bottle of liquid beside her was being slowly injected. The machine next to her made a beeping sound, monitoring Water Lily's heartbeat. "Doctor, how is the patient's condition?" Kazuma Kobayakawa looked at the doctor who was taking notes at the end of the bed and asked. "Are you a family member of the patient?" The doctor looked up at Kobayakawa and asked doubtfully. "No, I am her student, she has no family members." Kazuma Kobayakawa shook his head. Both Ganliu and Nymphomaniac were orphans. The two usually performed tasks together, and over time they developed feelings for each other. The doctor glanced at Kazuma Kobayakawa. He wrote down the word, orphan, in the medical record and explained. To be honest, the patient's physical injuries were not serious, but she suffered major psychological trauma, which made her unwilling wake up. If you have a good enough relationship with her, talking to her more will help. Kobayakawa Kazuma frowned. Water Lily had already made an appointment with Ganliu to get married. Now that Ganliu is dead, Water Lily must be very sad too. Spending time in sleep and escaping from this dark ninja world, this should be what Water Lily is thinking about right now. After the doctor left, Kobayakawa Kazuma sat next to the Water Lily and waited until night. During this period, he tried to wake up the Water Lilies, but there was always no movement. Suddenly, Kazuma Kobayakawa thought of the engagement between Water Lily and Ganliu. He held Water Lily's hand and imitated Ganliu's tone and said, "When this mission is over, let's get married." The next moment, Water Lily's fingers moved, as if she heard Kazuma Kobayakawa's words. "Water Lily, I will give you happiness." Seeing that his actions made Water Lily react, Kobayakawa Kazuma continued. After a while, Water Lily slowly opened her eyes, and in her tearful eyes, Kobayakawa Kazuma's face slowly emerged. "Kobayakawa." Water Lily held Kobayakawa Kazuma's hand and said softly, "Iwanliu is dead." He was killed by the Oniden clan in front of me. In this world, I am alone again. Loneliness is a fate that every ninja may experience. For ninjas, every mission may be wandering between life and death. Especially, for Kurigakure now. Kazuma Kobayakawa knows what it feels like. Both he and Terumi may have lost loved ones. The person who killed the Kimi clan is now the fourth Mizukage Yagura. Teacher Water Lily, marry me so that you won't be lonely. Kobayakawa Kazuma paused and suddenly said. He wants to continue to become stronger, and Water Lily also needs someone to rely on. Water Lily fell silent. She slowly pulled away the hand held by Kobayakawa Kazuma and said softly, I'm sorry, I don't want to talk about getting married until I have revenge for the rock flow. Water Lily didn't want to talk about it, so Kazuma Kobayakawa didn't continue talking. He comforted Water Lily for a few words, went to buy some food for Water Lily, and then left the hospital. Night came, and every house turned on the lights. Kobayakawa Kazuma walked along the road toward his home, his mood getting heavier and heavier. After buying a house, there will be more space at home. Now he also has the identity of Chunin. After he owns a house and saves a little money, it shouldn't be a problem to spend some money to marry a genin. The only pity is that most genin's ninja qualifications are very average, basically F level. Even if they give birth to a child, they are unlikely to receive too many rewards. And under Kurigakure's current policy, he can't marry female ninjas who have bloodline boundaries, as that would entail huge political risks. The night was slightly cool and the air was silent. As he passed an alley, Kazuma Kobayakawa suddenly jumped back. Are you from the Oniden clan? Kobayakawa Kazuma looked at the person in front of him and couldn't help but draw out the ninja sword behind his back. Blue hair and jagged teeth are undoubtedly the characteristics of the Ghost Lantern clan. Yes, I'm here to avenge my nephew Ichiro Kido, and I'll take your head to please Cloud Shinobi Village. Daichi Kido threw a kunai at Kazuma Kobayakawa, with a detonating talisman wrapped around the tail of the kunai. The flames shot into the sky, and Kazuma Kobayakawa jumped onto the roof. He pulled out his ninja sword, made Tsukikage's starting hand gesture, and rushed towards Onidachi Daichi. The two collided in the air. Onidachi's kunai stabbed Kobayakawa Kazuma on the shoulder, and Kobayakawa Kazuma's ninja sword also slashed on Onidachi's body. It seems that you are stronger than Ganryu. Daichi Kido smiled, knowing that he was no match, and he quickly ran into the darkness of Mist Shinobi. Although he was once a special jonin, what he was best at was not fighting, but medical ninjutsu that could heal wounds. Covering the wound with his palm, blue chakra emerged, and he tried to repair the wound bit by bit. However, when Ghost Daji began to treat the wound, he discovered that not only could the wound not be cured, but it was further torn under the stimulation of chakra. The blood flowed more and more, and Guidang Daji's face began to turn pale. Kobayakawa Kazuma followed the blood all the way, and finally caught up with Onidachi when he was about to leave the village. With the knife in his hand, Kobayakawa Kazuma chopped off the head of Onidachi. In terms of strength alone, Onido Daichi is stronger than Onido Ichiro in a healthy state, but the current Kobayakawa Kazuma is not the same genin as before. Even if he faces jonin, he is still capable of fighting. Therefore, for Kazuma Kobayakawa, it is not difficult to kill Daichi Ghost, but it is more difficult to track the opponent. However, this time it was thanks to the ninja sword in his hand. If it weren't for the increase in chakra metal, the ninja sword's slashing would not have such a strong tearing effect. Taking advantage of the darkness, Kazuma Kobayakawa delivered the body of Onidang Daichi to the bounty collection place and exchanged it for a bounty of 600,000 taels. Once a special jonin, Daichi Kido's bounty far exceeded that of Ichiro Kido. After receiving a bounty of 600,000 taels, Kobayakawa Kazuma's mind began to become active. Including these bounties, his savings already exceed 1 million taels. With this money, one can live in a similar house even in Kurigakure, the land of water. Kobayakawa Kazuma was thinking. I bought a house next to the Mizukage building in Mist Shinobi. With a luxurious house, plus the record of successively killing Suido Ichiro and Onido Daichi, it shouldn't be a big problem for me to marry a chunin. Thanks to Mist Shinobi's continuous war, the price of the house has become cheaper. Female ninjas who can become chunin generally have better qualifications, and their ninja qualifications should reach D level. If you have a child with a female ninja with D-level qualifications, your child will have a greater chance of inheriting D-level qualifications. Thinking of this, Kobayakawa Kazuma returned home in a good mood. Giving birth to a child can make you stronger. As long as you develop a few more kunoichi, it won't be long before you are stronger than Jonin. After a week of recuperation, Water Lily was successfully discharged from the hospital. The last words Iwa said, "Be happy," still seemed to be lingering in her ears, which made it impossible for her to enter the next relationship. She only has one thought in her mind now, which is to avenge Yanliu and kill Gui Dang Daji. With revenge in her mind, Water Lily came to the task receiving area, slammed the table, and said to the ninja who issued the task, "Give me all the information about Oni Dang Daichi. He is suspected of colluding with Cloud Shinobi Village and stealing village secrets. He is a completely dangerous person." The ninja who issued the mission was slightly startled. He subconsciously took a step back and said helplessly, "Gui Dang Daji's information has been destroyed because, just last night, Gui Dang Daji was dead." Dead. Water Lily was quite surprised. How could someone who could kill Yanliu die so easily? Who on earth can kill a ninja of the level of Ghost Dachi? The ninja who posted the mission took out last night's bounty submission record and turned to the page of Gui Dang Daji. Gui Dang Daji's information had been marked with a red cross, and there was no doubt that he was dead. Kobayakawa Kazuma killed Sutang Daichi without any injuries. I have to say that Kobayakawa Kazuma is really the leader among the Chunin. The ninja who issued the mission had longing in his eyes and pushed the bounty submission record in front of Water Lily. Water Lily was stunned for a moment. What Kazuma Kobayakawa said in the hospital flashed through her mind, and she subconsciously raised the corners of her mouth. "As expected of my disciple, he is strong and gentle, what a good man." Yanliu in the memory seemed to smile, and the sentence, "be happy," became clearer. Water Lily gradually understood the meaning of Yanliu. That man hoped that he would not be immersed in the sorrow of the past. In the afternoon, the sun penetrated the mist. Kobayakawa Kazuma put on casual clothes and came to the street near the Mizukage building. The ninja sword he had always carried with him was also returned home. With the help of Nakato, the Japanese name for matchmaker, Kazuma Kobayakawa was able to come into contact with a kunoichi. It is said that he became Chunin when he was around 20 years old. He is 24 years old this year. Years of war have caused a sharp decline in the village's economic development. Even on Kurigakure's busiest streets, there are only a few people shopping. The meeting place this time was a tempura shop. Kazuma Kobayakawa entered the shop. The usually bustling shop was now deserted. Kobayakawa Kazuma was immediately warmly welcomed by the store staff when he arrived. After a while, a woman wearing an aqua blue dress entered the store. The Mist Shinobi forehead protector tied around her waist showed her identity as a ninja. "Hello." The kunoichi saw Kobayakawa Kazuma and greeted him. "Are you Ryoko Amamori? You are really more beautiful than Nakato said." Kobayakawa Kazuma quietly opened the system. Name: Yumori Ryoko. Age: 24. Beauty laughing face. Ninja qualification: D. Blood inheritance limit: none. For Ryoko Amamori, Kazuma Kobayakawa is generally satisfied. D-level beauty belongs to an average-looking woman, and D-level ninja qualifications are also Chunin's ordinary ninja qualifications. Considering Kobayakawa Kazuma's current status and capital, being able to marry Chunin is considered a relatively good outcome, especially when there are 2 wives at home. "Mr. Kobayakawa, you are a better person than I thought. I heard that even Mizukage-sama praised you highly, and you even killed 2 traitorous ninjas from the Blood Successor Limited family. It's really impressive," Ryoko Amamori responded. The two were talking and laughing, and the atmosphere was quite good. They already talked about marriage within a few words. Ryoko Amamori said she prefers Western-style weddings, white wedding dresses and the atmosphere of a church. Kobayakawa Kazuma also readily agreed. Regardless of Japanese wedding or Western wedding, including Chinese wedding, it is just a formality. The more important thing is to sow seeds and give birth to children. Give birth to children earlier, become stronger earlier, and when you become a jonin, you can marry a wife with better ninja qualifications. Then, one day, this dark world will change. Just when Kobayakawa Kazuma was discussing marriage with Ryoko Amamori, suddenly, Water Lily broke in. Water Lily, who had just come out of the bounty collection area, was still wearing a ninja uniform. Her eyes swept across the restaurant and quickly locked onto Kazuma Kobayakawa. Kazuma Kobayakawa, when you said you wanted to marry me in the hospital, were you serious? Water Lily patted the table in front of Kazuma Kobayakawa, bent down and approached Kazuma Kobayakawa's face, and asked. With his face so close, Kobayakawa Kazuma could see the delicate skin lines of the water lily. His breath and the water lily's breath blended together, giving him a warm feeling. Hey, who are you? How dare you compete with me, Ryoko Yumori, for a man? Seeing the sudden intrusion of Water Lily, Ryoko Yumori stood up suddenly and looked at Water Lily with an evil look on her face. I was just discussing marriage with Kazuma Kobayakawa, and suddenly a woman barged in and cut her off. Who could bear this? Only then did Water Lily notice Yumori Ryoko, and she looked at Yumori Ryoko. The clothes are good and the figure is not bad. There is no doubt that she has worked hard for today's date. You said he is your man. Ugly girl, what nonsense are you talking about? Water Lily looked at Yumori Ryoko's face, and finally chose to belittle the other person's appearance. Ryoko Amamori's appearance is actually not bad, but compared with Kurigakure's famous beauties like Water Lily, she seems quite ordinary. You actually called me an ugly girl. Yumori Ryoko walked up to Water Lily in a few steps. She clenched her fists tightly, her whole body trembling, and her eyes were shining with bloodthirsty light. Asshole, since you are also a ninja, then speak in a ninja way. Ryoko Amamori said angrily. Okay, let's go out for a duel. Water Lily suggested. Before Kazuma Kobayakawa could say anything, the two of them came outside the hotel, cursing each other. Ryoko Amamori's goal is very clear, that is, to make this ninja who is proud of his face regret. She punched Water Lily in the face, and Water Lily spat out a mouthful of blood, then punched her back. Fights between Kunoichi are not much better than street fights. At most, the Kunoichi have received professional training and they know where to hit them more painfully. At the same time, women talk a lot and will hit and scold at the same time, just like an ant scolding. Kobayakawa Kazuma on the side never found a chance to intervene, until the two separated and rushed towards each other again. A powerful chakra erupted under his feet. Grasping the wrist of Water Lily with one hand and the wrist of Ryoko Amamori with the other, Kazuma Kobayakawa looked at Ryoko Amamori and said coldly, "Let's go back today, okay?" Ryoko Yumori didn't expect that the person she was dating would help another woman, and her face immediately darkened. Kobayakawa, you are such a bad man, never see you again. Ryoko Yumori dropped her words and turned to leave. Kobayakawa Kazuma was not reluctant to leave. With his current status, it was not difficult to find a female ninja of the level of Amamori Ryoko to marry. Teacher Shuilian, why are you here? Kobayakawa Kazuma looked back at Shuilian and asked. Shuilian took a step forward, approached Kobayakawa Kazuma, and asked, what you said before that you would make the teacher happy, is it true? Kobayakawa Kazuma was slightly stunned. He didn't know why Shuilian had such a big change. It's true. Kobayakawa Kazuma nodded and agreed. At that time, he really wanted to find a female ninja to marry, and Shuilian was indeed the best choice. Hearing Kobayakawa Kazuma's affirmative answer, Shuilian, who had always been strong, blushed slightly, and she pulled away the wrist that was held by Kobayakawa Kazuma. I heard that you already have a wife, but since you helped Yanliu to avenge, I should also keep my promise to marry you. Shuilian smiled, and the blush on her face was particularly cute. I helped Yanliu to avenge. Kobayakawa Kazuma thought about it carefully, and suddenly remembered the bloodline limit ninja he killed last night. At that time, Hozumi Daichi seemed to have mentioned the name of Ganliu, but he did not think of it at that time. Who could have thought that such a weak Hozumi Daichi was the murderer of Ganliu? Water Lily, please give me more advice in the future. Kobayakawa Kazuma held Water Lily in his arms, the fragrance of the hair lingered in his nose, and he could hear Water Lily's heartbeat. For him, being able to marry Water Lily is also a very good result. Walking hand in hand with Water Lily on the streets of Kurigakure, Kobayakawa felt a lot of emotion in his heart. This kind of peaceful life is what all ninjas envy. Oni-chan, a businessman came to ask about the house just now and decided to buy it for 250,000 taels. Just after returning home, Terumi Mei went out to greet Kobayakawa Kazuma, and brought Kobayakawa Kazuma a good news by the way. Give me the contact information of that businessman, Kobayakawa Kazuma said. The small house is already too crowded, and after marrying Shuilian, the house will be even more crowded. Therefore, Kobayakawa Kazuma must change a house during this period. The afternoon sun fell on the ground, and Kobayakawa Kazuma went to the merchant's house, chatted briefly, and agreed to sell the house for 250,000. After running around for a few days, Kobayakawa Kazuma finally bought a new house with 3 bedrooms and 2 living rooms in the city with Shuilian. Therefore, Kobayakawa Kazuma spent all his savings, and now all his assets are left with a set of ninja tools and a big house. However, he is already quite satisfied. After all, now he not only has a hardworking and capable sister, but also 2 beautiful wives. In addition, he is now a chunin, can accept more advanced tasks, and has some prestige in Kurigakure. These conditions make it easier for him to get married. Not long after the last marriage with Komori-yu, Kobayakawa Kazuma and Shuilian held a wedding again, witnessed by the same god, and received the same blessing. In the 2 months since this day, Water Lily and Kazuma Kobayakawa began to prepare for pregnancy. Kazuma Kobayakawa works hard every night, and Water Lily cooperates with Kazuma Kobayakawa's efforts, becoming more and more like a kunoichi. After 2 months of hard work, the system prompt finally appeared. Kazuma Kobayakawa successfully sown seeds and received a reward from the system. The success of this seeding has increased Kobayakawa Kazuma's chakra amount by 0.6 calories, and his ninja qualification has also changed from the original D 9/10 to C 1/4, once again making great progress on the road to ninja. When Water Lily became pregnant, Kazuma Kobayakawa let Water Lily raise her baby at home, while he worked hard to take over the task of ninja. Many tasks in Kurigakure now are related to hunting down ninjas with blood inheritance limits. Under Yagura's purge policy, ninjas kill each other almost every day in Kurigakure. Kazuma Kobayakawa was powerless to do anything about it. The only thing he could do was not to take on those missions of hunting down the blood successor ninjas. Although this will greatly reduce Chunin's income, at least he will not be stained with the blood of his compatriots. After the mission of clearing out the bandits was over, Kazuma Kobayakawa did not submit the mission immediately. Instead, he went to the home of teacher Kazuki in the East Village. Since Yu Komori lost a leg last time, Kazuki Higashimura has completely lived the life of an elderly person. Apart from sleeping every day, his biggest hobby is playing shogi with the old men in the village, a Japanese game similar to chess. Kazuki Tamura was very happy to see Kazuma Kobayakawa. He cooked a fish, opened a bottle of sake, and started chatting with Kazuma Kobayakawa. Kobayakawa, I heard that you have married another wife. She is still the famous beauty Water Lily? Kazuki Higashimura asked. Teacher Water Lily, she is a very virtuous wife. Of course, Misato is no exception. Kobayakawa Kazuma smiled, thinking of Water Lily. An indescribable feeling of happiness filled his mind. When this child is born, let the Water Lily have another one. Speaking of which, Water Lily once served as your teacher. Being able to marry this beauty will make your life worthwhile. Kazuki Higashimura drank a glass of wine with envy on his face. He felt that he should also start a family, marry a gentle and virtuous wife, and then have several children, and the family could live happily together. By the way, Kazuki Higashimura suddenly remembered something, and he reminded, you have to be more careful these days. The blood successor ninjas have launched revenge against the village, and many ninjas who supported Yagura have been assassinated. Last night, Jonin was killed and his body was hung on the road into the village. Kobayakawa Kazuma was slightly startled, and the doubts in his heart were explained. It turns out that it was because of the revenge of the Bloodline Limited ninjas that Kagura was hung on the crooked neck tree on the roadside. Speaking of which, he is considered a high-risk person. On the surface, he was a fanatical supporter of the 4th Mizukage, but privately, he killed 2 ninjas with blood inheritance limits, Kido Ichiro and Kido Daichi. After leaving Kazuki's home in East Village, Kazuma Kobayakawa couldn't help but feel worried. Fortunately, I have moved my home near the Mizukage building, so I can at least ensure the safety of my family to a certain extent. For now, 4th Mizukage Yagura still has quite strong control over Kurigakure. At least, he can ensure the safety near the Mizukage building. After going to the task submission office and turning in the task, Kazuma Kobayakawa received a reward of 20,000 taels. This task was somewhat dangerous, but correspondingly, the reward was also quite extraordinary. Practice ninjutsu, complete tasks, and go home to enjoy the meal prepared by Misato and Shuilian. Kazuma Kobayakawa's life has returned to a simple and plain mode, and it seems that the opposition in the village has little to do with him. After more than half a year of hard work, Kazuma Kobayakawa's various ninjutsu have made new progress. Name: Kazuma Kobayakawa. Lifespan: 33 years. Chakra: 2.0 card. Ninja qualification: C1/4. Ninjutsu: Body replacement technique 29% completion, transformation technique 29% completion, clone technique 28% completion, water style. Mist shinobi technique 21% completion, sword skill. Moon shadow 18% completion, water style. Water cannon 9% completion. Now Kazuma Kobayakawa can release ninjutsu such as substitute, transformation, clone and mist shinobi technique with only one hand seal, and the water cannon can be used 3 times in a short period of time. Now, he undoubtedly has the strength of a special jonin, and is infinitely close to a real jonin. This powerful strength is also the guarantee for Kobayakawa Kazuma to complete the task, which makes him complete the task faster than ordinary chunin in the past 6 months. The winter snow gradually melted, and spring came in a blink of an eye. Kobayakawa Kazuma and 2 other chunin teamed up to complete the task of killing pirates and rushed back to Kurigakure as quickly as possible. I can't wait to go home and taste the sukiyaki made by my mother. It's really a torture to eat salted fish all day for 2 months at sea. A young-looking ninja's face is full of longing for home. There is a tear mole at the corner of his eye, and his green hair is particularly eye-catching. Yes, it would be great if the village could restore peace. When the 4th generation eliminates those ungrateful bloodline families, Kurigakure will surely become the strongest ninja village. Another ninja with a scar on his face looked at Kobayakawa Kazuma and asked, "Kazuma, what are you going to do when you return to the village?" Kobayakawa Kazuma thought for a moment and answered truthfully, "Taste the dinner that Misato and Shuilian made for me." Speaking of which, Kazuma has 2 wives, which is really enviable. The ninja with a scar on his face shed tears of envy and jealousy. It's okay to have 2 wives, one of whom is the famous beautiful ninja Shuilian. With such a combination, the life of being embraced by women is even better than Mizukage. The 3 of them quickly moved towards Kurigakure. Suddenly, in the open space in front of their sight, a person with his body hidden under a cloak blocked the way of Kobayakawa and the other 2. "Hey, is Kobayakawa Kazuma in this team? Who are you?" The ninja with a scar on his face stopped and asked the other party. "My name is Okitani Ryunosuke, and I'm here to send you off." The man took off the cloak covering his body, and under the cloak was a face with half of its skin missing, and the muscles under that half of its face could be vaguely seen wriggling. He raised his hand and made a pistol gesture towards the scarred ninja. "Danger!" Kobayakawa Kazuma quickly rushed over and kicked the scarred ninja to the ground, and a water cannon almost grazed his scalp. Okitani Ryunosuke, with a bounty of 800,000 taels, although he did not inherit the bloodline limit, he was a member of the bloodline limit family. Before the 4th Mizukage took office, Okitani Ryunosuke was already a powerful chunin, and was once nominated as a special jonin by the Water Lantern clan. The scarred ninja and Kobayakawa Kazuma barely dodged, but the green-haired ninja fell straight to the ground, with a round hole appearing on his forehead, and blood soaked the ground under his feet through the hole. Kazuma Kobayakawa looked around vigilantly. It was obvious that the ninja in front of him was just a bait, and there was someone lying in ambush here. When the scar ninja saw the fallen body of his companion, his body twitched and trembled, and he let out a cry of pain. "You fool, what on earth have you done? That guy hasn't even had a bite of my mother's sukiyaki." The scarred ninja quickly formed seals with his hands, and attacked the other side with a wave of water. Water style. Water turbulence technique. Asshole, go to hell. The scar ninja pulled out a kunai and rushed towards the opponent. The kunai pierced the opponent's body, but found that it was just a water body. "Are you really the chunin of this village? Without us blood successor ninjas, the village is really weak and pitiful." Ryunosuke Okitani's figure emerged from behind Scar Ninja. He held a kunai in his hand and inserted it accurately into Scar Ninja's heart. With a heavy swing, the Scar Ninja's body fell on the side of the road, its hands and feet twitching. Now, it's your turn. Ryunosuke Okitani looked at Kazuma Kobayakawa. In the thick fog, Kazuma Kobayakawa's figure was looming. While Ryunosuke Okia was fighting, Kazuma Kobayakawa used the Mist Shinobi technique to hide himself in the thick fog. Want to use the Mist Shinobi technique to escape? Ryunosuke Okitani quickly formed a seal and spit out the Great Fireball technique. The raging fire rushed into the thick fog, making a sizzling sound, and soon the thick smoke was blown away. The fog completely evaporated. However, as the thick fog disappeared, more than a dozen Kobayakawa Kazuma appeared in the thick fog. This was the E-level ninjutsu, clone technique, used to disrupt vision. Don't move. Kazuma Kobayakawa held the knife with both hands and pressed the sword against Ryunosuke Okitani's neck. As early as the moment when the Mist Shinobi technique was displayed, the real Kobayakawa Kazuma used the transformation technique to escape from the thick fog and went around behind Ryunosuke Okitani. The clone in the thick fog was just used by him to attract attention. Phew! The sound of shurikens breaking through the air sounded, and in the dense forest, 2 shurikens struck towards Kazuma Kobayakawa. Quickly retreating, Kobayakawa Kazuma dodged the shuriken attack. The 2 shurikens were aimed at his body. In this case, if you insist on killing Ryunosuke Okitani, you will inevitably have to withstand the attack of the shuriken. Kazuma Kobayakawa didn't want to have a lose-lose situation with Ryunosuke Okia, so he chose to avoid it. While retreating, Kazuma Kobayakawa's right hand showed a pistol posture, and he fired a water cannon. The speed of this water cannon was much faster than the shuriken, and it instantly penetrated Ryunosuke Okitani's arm. Although he was unable to take Ryunosuke Okia away at once, Kazuma Kobayakawa was not too anxious. After all, the guy hiding in the dark had been exposed. Next, whether escaping or killing the 2 people, there will be fewer obstacles. Water style. Water chaos. His feet left sliding traces on the ground. Kobayakawa Kazuma stabilized his body and quickly formed seals, and water waves spat out from his mouth. Chakra erupted at Ryunosuke Okitani's feet. He moved quickly to avoid the water wave, but his vision was also disturbed by the water wave. The moment he lost sight, Kazuma Kobayakawa used the clone technique again. A group of clones, holding ninja swords, rushed in front of Ryunosuke Okitani and attacked Ryunosuke Okitani from all directions. Ryunosuke Okitani was wary of Kazuma Kobayakawa, and he quickly retreated and withdrew from the encirclement of clones. Now that his arm was injured, he no longer had the ability to release ninjutsu using seals. Faced with the siege of Kobayakawa Kazuma, he was at a loss for a while. You run so fast, coward. Kobayakawa Kazuma's clones also stopped at a position more than 10 meters away from Ryunosuke Okia, fighting head-on. Naturally, he was not afraid of Ryunosuke Okia and those hiding in the dark. The huge chakra is enough for him to use the ninjutsu he has mastered several times. But the weakness is also obvious, that is, the ninjutsu he masters are relatively average. If the opponent wants to escape, he has no means to keep the opponent behind. Chunin's strength only goes so far. It's really scary. I haven't seen a Chunin as strong as you for a long time, Kobayakawa Kazuma. Ryunosuke Okitani looked at the clone in front of him, and his mood couldn't help but become solemn. There is no doubt that there is only one surprise attack. If you miss that opportunity, it is no longer realistic to kill Kobayakawa Kazuma. Now, we can only evacuate first. If we want to kill Kazuma Kobayakawa, there will be many opportunities in the future. Kazuma Kobayakawa is also very vigilant. These people today are obviously coming for him. If they cannot be dealt with, there will be constant trouble in the future. As a ninja, you are not afraid of thieves, but you are afraid that thieves will miss you. If you can't kill these 2 ninjas today, you will be on tenterhooks in the future. We lost today, and the future is long. After thinking for a while, Ryunosuke Okitani made up his mind. He released the smoke bomb and quickly got into the dense forest. However, at the moment when he turned around, Ryunosuke Okitani saw the flash of the sword, and his vision spun around, spinning in the air for several weeks before settling down. The bodies were separated, and Ryunosuke Okitani was completely dead. When the clone technique was used to confront Ryunosuke Okia, the real Kazuma Kobayakawa had already used the transformation technique to hide in the woods, waiting for the opportunity to kill Ryunosuke Okiya. It was also a coincidence that Ryunosuke Okiya's escape route happened to be at the place where Kazuma Kobayakawa was ambushing him, so he could kill the opponent smoothly. For an ordinary chunin, without extremely strong killing means, killing the opponent depends on brains and luck. Plop! Ryunosuke Okutani, who lost his head, fell to the ground, and blood spilled all over the ground. Kobayakawa Kazuma looked back and saw that the person hiding in the dark had fled, and only his thin back could be vaguely seen. After the people left, Kobayakawa Kazuma put the head of Ryunosuke Okiya, carried away the bodies of his two companions, and changed the route towards Kurigakure. Hatred is the eternal tone of the ninja world. Under this tone, everyone is burdened with something in life. Kobayakawa Kazuma was not in a very good mood. After all, these two people had been on a mission with him for more than 2 months, so they were more or less familiar people. No matter how sane a person is, seeing someone he has been with day and night die in front of him, his heart will tremble. Just after leaving the battlefield, Kobayakawa Kazuma became alert again, and Hoshigaki Kisame suddenly fell in front of him. On Hoshigaki Kisame's shoulders, he carried a recently deceased corpse. The corpse had blue hair, which was obviously the characteristic of the Onodan clan. "You're still alive, Kobayakawa Kazuma." Hoshigaki Kisame looked at the two bodies on Kobayakawa Kazuma's shoulders, and a hint of surprise appeared on his face. Kobayakawa Kazuma looked at Hoshigaki Kisame, and he could probably guess that the body on Hoshigaki Kisame's shoulder was one of the people who had ambushed him just now. Midori and Haruto are dead. They died in the first attack of the rebel ninja. I killed Okitani Ryunosuke. Kobayakawa Kazuma described what happened at that time with a gloomy face. Hoshigaki Kisame was slightly startled. When he first learned that Kobayakawa Kazuma was ambushed, he thought that Kobayakawa Kazuma would die in this ambush. It was surprising to see Kobayakawa Kazuma alive. But when he thought Kobayakawa Kazuma had just escaped the pursuit, Kobayakawa Kazuma told him that he had killed Okitani Ryunosuke. What an incredible young man. It's only been more than half a year since the end of the Chunin exam, and he has grown to such a level. Hoshigaki Kisame felt a little uneasy. He couldn't help but marvel at Kobayakawa Kazuma's growth, and at the same time he felt a little sympathetic towards Kobayakawa Kazuma. If Kobayakawa Kazuma was still just a genin, he would not be easily involved in the village's civil war. As Kobayakawa Kazuma's reputation became more and more famous, those bloodline limit families hiding in the dark would not be able to help but take action. Speaking of which, Okitani Ryunosuke did a mission with me during the Third War. The mission location was at Kanobi Bridge. Half of that guy's face was injured by the detonation talisman while trying to save people. Hoshigaki Kisame suddenly said. Obviously, the village survived the Third War, but the ninjas of the village died in the Civil War. Sometimes, even Hoshigaki Kisame would think about some things. Is the fourth Mizukage's approach really correct? Can eliminating bloodline limit ninjas really make the village stronger? Kobayakawa Kazuma didn't say much. After a few minutes, a team of more than a dozen Chunin and Genin followed and returned to Kurigakure together. Kobayakawa Kazuma submitted the bounty and found 5,000 taels of cash from Ryunosuke Okiya. Speaking of which, Ryunosuke Okiya was quite miserable. He had the strength of a special jonin, but he didn't even have a ninja tool that was worth his attention. The 5,000 taels of cash seemed very shabby. Fortunately, Ryunosuke Okiya's head was more valuable. The bounty of 800,000 taels was indeed a huge sum of money for Kobayakawa Kazuma now. With this money, it should not be a problem to find 2 more Chunin wives. After the birth of the child, another wave of ninja qualifications can be added. When the ninja qualifications reach a level, if you can learn some powerful A-level or even S-level ninjutsu, you should be able to barely reach the threshold of Kage level. At that time, it is not impossible to replace Yagura. After returning home, Kobayakawa Kazuma gave Terumi-mei the clothes to wash. He rubbed Terumi-mei's head and felt quite sympathetic towards this young lady. If it was in other ninja villages, Terumi-mei would definitely shine with her boil-style and lava-style ninjutsu. But here in Kurigakure, Terumi-mei, who is almost 18 years old, is not even a ninja. In order to survive, she has to hide her bloodline limit at all costs. Brother Kazuma, I heard that you killed 2 more Hozumi clan ninjas. As long as we work hard to live, the Terumi clan will surely revive again. Terumi Mei looked at Kobayakawa Kazuma with a faint smile on her lips. Ah, it will definitely happen. Kobayakawa Kazuma said something insincere and sent Terumi Mei away. Now, let alone reviving the Terumi clan, it is difficult for him and Terumi Mei to survive. If you stand on the side of the village, you have to constantly fight against those families within the bloodline. If you stand on the side of the bloodline, you are the enemy of the village. In this bloody mist, there are no free ninjas. At dinner time, Kobayakawa Kazuma looked at Water Lily's gradually protruding belly, and felt a little better. He and Misato's 2 children are growing up day by day. The eldest one has learned to open his mouth and call him daddy. Thank you for your hard work during this time, Kazuma. Water Lily gave Kazuma Kobayakawa a piece of fried shrimp, and when she looked at Kazuma Kobayakawa, the love in her eyes seemed to well up. After marrying Kazuma Kobayakawa, she knew the feeling of home for the first time. It was good to have someone who cared about her all the time. Boom, boom, boom. There was a sudden knock on the door. Terumi Mei opened the door, and Hoshigaki Kisame walked in with a ninja sword on his back. Hoshigaki Kazuma, Mizukage-sama has summoned you. Hoshigaki Kisame looked at the Water Lily with a bulging belly and couldn't help but froze. I really didn't expect that Kazuma Kobayakawa actually took care of the Water Lilies. Apparently before the Chunin exam, Water Lily was still Kobayakawa Kazuma's instructor. What's more, I didn't expect that this Chunin, who was famous in the village, would have such a corrupt private life. Counting Otsuka Sui, Kobayakawa Kazuma had 3 wives. I understand. Kazuma Kobayakawa quickly changed into his clothes and ninja sword, and then followed Hoshigaki Kisame to Mizukage's office. Suddenly, Kazuma Kobayakawa saw a prompt from the system. Yukomori gave birth to a son with E-class ninja qualifications, and the son inherited Yukomori's crystal-style blood inheritance limit. Name: Kazuma Kobayakawa. Lifespan: 35 years. Chakra: 2.9 calories. Ninja qualification: C 9/20. Blood succession limit: crystal style. Ninjutsu: body replacement technique 29% completion, transformation technique 29% completion, clone technique 28% completion, water style. Mist shinobi technique 21% completion, sword technique. Tsukikage complete degree 18%, water style. Water iron cannon degree 9%. The birth of this child brought Kazuma Kobayakawa a 2-year increase in lifespan, an increase in chakra amount of 0.6 calories, and a partial increase in ninja qualifications. More importantly, Kazuma Kobayakawa has the blood inheritance limit of crystal style. With the blood succession limit, he can later use crystal style to develop ninjutsu, which also makes him completely a blood succession limit ninja. The emergence of the blood succession limit has greatly increased Kazuma Kobayakawa's strength. Now, if he meets Ryunosuke Okutani again, he only needs one face-to-face to kill him with crystal style. However, in the current Kurigakure, people with blood inheritance limits should keep a low profile. After all, he does not want to start a war with the village. Hoshigaki Kisame stopped outside Mizukage's office. Kobayakawa Kazuma knelt on one knee in front of Yagura and asked, "What do you want from me?" Lord Yagura. Yagura glanced at Kazuma Kobayakawa with his empty eyes, and asked coldly, "Have you heard about Anyi?" Cold sweat broke out on Kazuma Kobayakawa's forehead. The first time he heard about this organization was from Yukomori. It is said that this is the organization that Yukomori joined. I've heard of it, Kobayakawa Kazuma answered truthfully, but he was a little worried in his heart. If Yagura found out that he had an affair with a blood successor ninja, the consequences would be very serious. Maybe, the crystal style for the first time in my life will be used here to fight Yagura. Fortunately, Yagura didn't mention Yukomori at all, and just said, this organization is an organization run by the Blood Successor Limited family. It not only colluded with Cloud Shinobi to steal the Seal Scroll of 3 Tails, but also infiltrated the top management of Mist Shinobi. This resulted in me, Mizukage, having almost no one I could trust. Kazuma Kobayakawa was slightly startled and asked, "What do you mean?" A mission to become Jonin, Level A, sneak into the Dark Knight organization and recapture the Seal Scroll. Yagura said coldly. Kobayakawa Kazuma lowered his head, his heart could not help but tremble. Yagura said so much just to not give him a chance to regret. If he doesn't agree now, knowing Mist Shinobi's secret, he will only die. Give your heart for Mizukage-sama. Kazuma Kobayakawa looked at Yagura with a fervent expression, feeling quite heavy. At midnight 1 month later, kill Jonin Aki and Kagura. This will be your pledge to betray Mist Shinobi and join the Dark Knight organization. As for your family, I will protect them under house arrest. Yagura, he said coldly. Yes. Kobayakawa Kazuma exited Mizukage's office. Akizono Kagura is a Jonin from Kurigakure. He made great achievements during the Third Ninja War. Especially in the early days of Yagura's tenure, Akizono Kagura was Yagura's right-hand man. However, after the purge of the blood-limited ninja occurred, Akizono Kagura once openly opposed Yagura. Unexpectedly, after Chu Yuan Kagura had no use value, he actually wanted to kill this person. Are you going to become Jonin? Outside the Mizukage office building, Hoshigaki Kisame looked at Kazuma Kobayakawa and asked. Kobayakawa Kazuma looked at Hoshigaki Kisame in surprise and asked, do you know? Hoshigaki Kisame smiled. Kaido, it's just a guess. Kurigakure is currently short of manpower. Your strength is relatively outstanding among the Chunin. It is not surprising that you will be recognized by Mizukage as a Jonin. If you can become a Jonin within 2 years, my boss, Mizumelanoni, has a good job, which will allow you to take a family member out of Kurigakure. Hoshigaki Kisame suddenly said. Kobayakawa was really moved. Leaving Kurigakure meant that there were more kunoichi to choose from, and he could find a kunoichi with blood inheritance limits to marry, thereby getting more system rewards and becoming stronger. More importantly, Terumi-mei is almost 18 years old. Outside, Terumi-mei can be more free. Can you tell me in detail? Kobayakawa Kazuma took out a note worth 1,000 taels from his arms and handed it to Hoshigaki Kisame, asking about the matter in detail. Regardless of the outcome of this mission, he will have to pave the way for his future. After all, people should plan more for themselves. Since you want to hear it, I'll tell you. Hoshigaki Kisame accepted the ticket and talked about the situation in detail. Kobayakawa Kazuma couldn't help but sigh that it was a good mission, and the mission destination was Konoha village, where the strongest ninjas were. There, as long as he could find a few kunoichi with blood inheritance limits to marry, his strength would grow rapidly. Under the moonlight, Kazuma Kobayakawa returned home. The A-level mission had to be kept secret, so he didn't mention it to anyone. Izuma, Mizukage-sama, do you have any mission? Water Lily was lying in Kobayakawa Kazuma's arms wearing a water blue nightgown. The slightly protruding abdomen not only did not destroy the beauty of her figure, but made her more protective. Next, you have to be more careful, teacher Water Lily. Kobayakawa Kazuma kissed Water Lily's forehead and held Water Lily in his arms. For Kazuma Kobayakawa, he also has people he wants to protect, and the current situation in Kurigakure has seriously violated his interests. In the blink of an eye, another month has passed. Kobayakawa Kazuma's Moon Shadow Sword technique has also improved to 20% completion. At this level of completion, he can abandon the starting position and chop at will when using the Moon Shadow Sword technique. This sword technique can be used with just one cut. At the same time, the existence of the crystal-style blood succession limit gave Kobayakawa Kazuma great confidence. Now, it is no problem for him to sneak attack a Jonin without the opponent being prepared. Of course, in order not to expose the fact that he has the blood inheritance limit, Kazuma Kobayakawa will not use crystal style casually unless his life is seriously threatened. During this month, Kobayakawa Kazuma also met the Watermelon Mountain Dog Demon through Hoshigaki Kisame, and gave all the 800,000 taels of bounty previously obtained to the Watermelon Mountain Dog Demon as a gift. Kobayakawa Kazuma is very excited about the mission to go to Konoha to be a spy. If he can successfully be promoted to Jonin this time and leave Mist Shinobi for Konoha, it will be an excellent opportunity for him. As a village jointly established by Senju and Uchiha, Konoha is full of talents, and there are even more kunoichi with blood inheritance limits. As long as a few children with bloodline limits are born, his strength will grow rapidly, and it is even possible to change the political structure of Mist Shinobi. In a blink of an eye, the day of action came. Kobayakawa Kazuma changed into Jonin uniform, hugged Misato and Nympho as usual, and left home. At night, with the full moon hanging high in the sky, Kazuma Kobayakawa sneaked into the hinterland of the village, near Akizono Kagura's house. Akizono Kagura's home has a structure similar to a courtyard house. The light is still on in a room in the middle, but the surrounding rooms are already dark. Through the window, it seems that two figures can be seen sitting face to face. Fourth Mizukage Yagura has made some arrangements for tonight's operation. The defense in Akizono Kagura's homestead is quite weak. With a powerful chakra erupting under his feet, Kazuma Kobayakawa sneaked into the house and landed silently near the wall. "Who are you?" An old man guarding the house happened to encounter Kazuma Kobayakawa sneaking in. He turned back to Kazuma Kobayakawa and recognized the chunin who had recently become famous. Kobayakawa Kazuma casually threw a kunai. The kunai opened a hole in the old man's neck and penetrated him completely. The old man didn't even have time to give a warning before he fell to the ground and could no longer speak. After sneaking all the way to where Akizono Kagura was, Kobayakawa Kazuma knocked on the door and imitated the tone of an acquaintance of Akizono Kagura and said, "Fourth Mizukage-sama asked me to bring you a message, Mr. Kagura. Come in." Akizono Kagura didn't open the door. He was still sitting at the table, playing shogi calmly. Kobayakawa Kazuma opened the door, and just when he was about to kill Akizono Kagura, he hesitated for a moment. There were only two people in the room. Akizono Kagura was playing shogi with a teenage girl. The girl's hands were shaking. When she dropped the chess pieces, her tears and snot dripped onto the chessboard. "Kobayakawa Kazuma, what do you think of the current mist shinobi? Is Master Yagura's approach to purging the blood successor ninja correct?" Akizono Kagura suddenly asked. Kobayakawa Kazuma was slightly surprised. It was obvious that Akizono Kagura had known that he would come. In this case, there is a risk of failure in his actions today. Once the operation fails, Fourth Mizukage will definitely not excuse him, and he will completely become a traitor to the village. Fourth Mizukage-sama is thinking about the village. I don't need to understand his foresight. I just need to be a sharp blade in his hands. Seeing that his actions have been exposed, Kobayakawa Kazuma stopped pretending and walked to Akizono Kagura. Behind him, he raised the ninja sword in his hand. "With ninjas like you, Mist Shinobi will definitely get better and better. If my head can bring prosperity to Mist Shinobi, then there is nothing to hesitate about." Akizono Kagura pointed in front of him again. The teenage girl added, "My granddaughter has the blood inheritance limit of ice escape. After I die, for the sake of the village, I cannot keep her." After saying all this, Chuyuan Kagura's eyes suddenly widened, and he slammed his hands on the chessboard, causing the chess pieces to scatter in all directions. "Long live Kurigakure!" Akizono Kagura shouted with all her strength. Kobayakawa Kazuma was slightly startled. The raised ninja sword fell, and Akizono Kagura's head was thrown high, and finally rolled to the floor with blood. The little girl in front of her seemed to finally be unable to suppress her emotions and cried out in despair. Kobayakawa Kazuma hesitated for a moment. If Akizono Kagura hadn't said those words, he would definitely not have killed the girl. But now, in order for the mission to continue, he had to do something. Only the dead would not reveal the secret. The explosion of the detonating talisman disrupted the night. Kobayakawa Kazuma took Akizono Kagura's head and sneaked into the darkness. Then there would be spies hidden in the Dark Knight organization to guide him and pave the way for his next actions. Early the next morning, wanted notices for Kazuma Kobayakawa appeared in every corner of the village, and his family was also controlled by Mizukage. Kobayakawa Kazuma came to the underground black market. Today was not the day when the underground black market was open, but there was still a stall with ninjutsu scrolls open. The stall owner wore a smiling mask and enthusiastically promoted ninjutsu to Kazuma Kobayakawa. Sea-level ninjutsu only costs 30,000 taels. Kazuma Kobayakawa threw Akizono Kagura's head in front of the stall owner and said coldly, "I want to join the Dark Knight organization." The stall owner's eyes met Kazuma Kobayakawa's, and he half smiled and said, "Akizono Kagura is Fourth Mizukage's right-hand man, and being able to get his head is really a great gift. If it were other Mist Shinobi ninjas, even if I brought Akizono Kagura's head, I would not let them join the organization easily, but you are different, my brother." The stall owner took off the mask. Her face it actually looks a bit similar to Terumi Mei. Kobayakawa Kazuma was stunned for a moment. If he guessed correctly, the person in front of him should be a direct descendant of the Terumi clan. Who are you? Kazuma Kobayakawa asked coldly. Terumi Masami, Terumi Mei's biological sister. The corner of the stall owner's mouth slightly raised, she picked up the cigarette rod next to her and took a deep breath. Kobayakawa Kazuma was slightly startled, and the memory slowly emerged in his mind. In the impression, there seemed to be a shadow of Terumi Masami. He has a very distant relationship with the Terumi clan. The only time he visited the Terumi clan was when he was 3 or 4 years old, and he can't remember many things long ago. However, thanks to the fact that he has almost no blood relationship with the Terumi clan, he was able to survive the hunt in the village and become an ordinary genin. Opening the system, Kobayakawa Kazuma confirmed Terumi Masami's information. Name: Terumi Masami. Age: 23. Beauty: B. Ninja qualification: C. Blood succession limit: lava style. Both her beauty and ninja qualifications are passable, and more importantly, Terumi Masami has the bloodline limit of lava style. With Masami Terumi's introduction, it became easy for Kazuma Kobayakawa to join the organization, and soon he became one of the most peripheral personnel. The Dark Knight organization has a strict system. Ninjas who have just joined the organization can only start as peripheral members. After 3 months, it will depend on whether they become insiders. Above the insiders, there is a real leadership. Entering the Dark Knight organization means that Mist Shinobi's life is temporarily away from Kobayakawa Kazuma. However, he also got the opportunity to contact the organization and bring back the Seal Scroll of 3 Tails, which became his only mission at this stage. After actually joining the Dark Knight organization, Kobayakawa Kazuma gradually understood how huge this organization really was. The main task of the personnel on the periphery of the organization is to pass on information, while the internal personnel are the main force in completing the mission. The tasks they complete include assassination, revenge, and even revenge against Kurigakure. Daichi and Ichiro are both internal personnel. As for the top leadership, it is said that they are all ninjas with blood inheritance limits. Before the civil war in the village started, many of them were jonin in the village. They generally do not show up easily and their identities are kept secret. Terumi Masami is a leader within the organization. Her usual task is to rescue those ninjas who have blood inheritance limits, and occasionally recruit new members for the organization. After joining the organization, Kazuma Kobayakawa naturally became Masami Terumi's subordinate, and every time he released a task, he took over it from Masami Terumi. Fugu, there is a mission for you. Masami Terumi put an envelope in Kazuma Kobayakawa's hand and said, "No. 33, Akazuki Town, Ozomura. Only you who have killed Jonin can complete this mission." "I know." Xiaozao Yijun accepted the envelope, drank all the red wine in the glass, and then left the bar. Kobayakawa Kazuma was very dissatisfied, and the code name was Pufferfish. It was really inferior. The people in the Dark Knight organization don't seem to have very good taste. This kind of cross-village mission is almost the most difficult letter delivery mission. Leaving the village and returning to the village are life and death situations, and you may even die on the way. But correspondingly, the rewards are also very rich. After completing a task, you can not only apply for a month's vacation time, but also apply for ninjutsu or monetary rewards from the organization. Kazuma Kobayakawa put on a mask and rushed out of the village under the cover of night. Fortunately, there was a spy from the Dark Knight organization in the patrol team in the village, which allowed Kazuma Kobayakawa to easily obtain the job schedule chart for the road out of the village. Judging from the roster chart, 3 o'clock in the night is the time when the guards are most relaxed. If you leave the village at this time, you will only have to face 1 chunin and 1 genin. On the only way out of the village, Kazuma Kobayakawa hid in the shadow of the trees until 3 o'clock in the morning. The 2 ninjas guarding the route and another ninja handed over to each other. Kazuma Kobayakawa held his breath and rushed out the moment the handover was completed. Enemy, genin, who was guarding the route, shouted loudly. He took out a red flare from his ninja bag. Kobayakawa Kazuma slightly changed his path, kicked the genin aside, and also snatched the flare. Now, he can kill a genin or chunin in just a moment. Leaving quickly along the route, Kobayakawa Kazuma encountered obstacles from several ninjas along the way, but he easily solved them all. A few hours later, Kobayakawa Kazuma completely left Kurigakure, and all the ninjas chasing him had been thrown away. Kobayakawa Kazuma sat tiredly on the tree trunk, breathing heavily. He ate a few Bing Liang pills to replenish his strength, drank some water, and prepared to go to Dazang village. After running out of the woods, Kazuma Kobayakawa came to a path overgrown with weeds. Few people knew about this path. It was steep and difficult to walk, but it could reach the bottom of the mountain. Suddenly, at the end of the road, Kazuma Kobayakawa saw a man with a bandage on his body. Kobayakawa Kazuma, I didn't expect that even a ninja like you would betray the village. Momochi Zabuza narrowed his eyes slightly. I didn't expect to meet you here. Kobayakawa Kazuma stopped more than 10 meters away from Zabuza and said coldly, let me go, I don't want to kill you. Kill me. Mochi Zabuza's eyes suddenly widened, and the bloodshot eyes were exposed. Stop talking nonsense, Kobayakawa Kazuma. I'm standing here today just because I want to learn your ninjutsu. The only one who can change Kurigakure today is me. Momochi Zabuza quickly formed seals, ugly, si, wei, zi, cho. Mist shinobi technique. Thick fog quickly spread with Momochi Zabuza as the center, and soon surrounded Kobayakawa Kazuma. In the thick fog, Momochi Zabuza took out a kunai and silently approached Kobayakawa Kazuma. Kobayakawa Kazuma quickly formed a seal, and his clone appeared in the thick fog, trying to confuse Momochi Zabuza's sight. However, how could Momochi Zabuza, whose sight and feeling were different from ordinary people, be deceived by the clones? He passed through multiple clones and easily locked the position of Kobayakawa Kazuma in the thick fog. Momochi Zabuza threw the kunai in his hand, and then watched the kunai be knocked down by Kobayakawa Kazuma. I'm sorry. Kazuma Kobayakawa judged the approximate location of Zabuza Momochi based on the speed and strength of the kunai. He quickly formed seals and used the body replacement technique to confuse Zabuza Momochi's sight, and then drew out his ninja sword and slashed at the opponent. Kobayakawa Kazuma, who had reached 20% completion of ninja technique, Tsukikage, already had the ability to use Tsukikage at will. Although Zabuza narrowly dodged the sword he made, the shadow of the sword hit Zabuza's body. What? Zabuza Momochi was injured, and he quickly retreated into the thick fog. Today, Kobayakawa Kazuma is more powerful than he imagined. It's just a matter of calculating his position based on the landing point of the kunai. When using the Moon Shadow Sword technique, he actually abandoned the starting position. With just one strike, he could reach a level beyond Chunin's reach. There is no doubt that Kazuma Kobayakawa has improved more than a little bit compared to when he took the Chunin exam a year ago. In the thick fog was Momochi Zabuza's home field. Zabuza once again locked onto Kobayakawa Kazuma's position. This time, he was much more wary. However, the next moment, Momochi Zabuza showed a look of panic and astonishment, and Kobayakawa Kazuma had already appeared behind him. Kazuma Kobayakawa hit Mochi Zabuza in the abdomen with the knife handle. Momochi Zabuza retched and retched. He covered his abdomen and knelt down on the ground, and the thick fog he summoned dissipated. Kobayakawa Kazuma sighed. He put his ninja sword back into its scabbard, and walked past Momochi Zabuza. Wait a minute. Zabuza Momochi endured the pain and stood up. He looked at Kazuma Kobayakawa and asked, Kobayakawa, since you have such a powerful power and chose to rebel, why don't you replace Mizukage? As long as you have a heart, I will support you. Kazuma Kobayakawa looked back at Zabuza Momochi. Of course he knew that Zabuza Momochi had long been dissatisfied with this dark village and even had the idea of assassinating Mizukage. But, even if we are dissatisfied, what can we do? Mizukage Yagura's status cannot be shaken by a few ninjas, let alone the one behind Yagura. The frog in the well, you cannot understand the foresight of 4th Mizukage-sama. Chakra erupted at Kazuma Kobayakawa's feet, and his body disappeared at the end of the road in an instant. 4th Mizukage, that's it. Momochi Zabuza showed a wry smile. From Kobayakawa Kazuma's words, he could hear the whole story of the matter and the other party's fear. The fear of the 4th Mizukage is engraved in Kobayakawa's genes. After several days of traveling, Kobayakawa Kazuma finally arrived at Oso village, located in the hinterland of the Land of Water. It was not far from the residence of the daimyo of the Land of Water. Even Kurigakure did not dare to act aggressively here. He wrapped his ninja sword, changed into casual clothes, and blended into Dazang village. Soon, Kazuma Kobayakawa found the place where he sent the letter and knocked on the vermilion door. A woman in kimono opened the door. The woman looked at Kazuma Kobayakawa and asked, "Who are you?" "When the anger of the night is burning." Kobayakawa Kazuma said the secret code. "This is what espionage is, and some confidentiality measures must be taken. But the code is quite interesting. They are cursing fourth Mizukage Yagura openly or covertly, as if they curse, fourth Mizukage will die. The fourth king will fall from the throne." The woman completed the second half of the sentence, and she put Kobayakawa Kazuma into the courtyard. The courtyard is very large, and the courtyard wall is made of 3-meter-high gray-white stone bricks to prevent prying eyes. Directly opposite the gate is a gray-white masonry building. After walking around the building, a small pavilion and a pool come into view. A woman with blue hair is sitting under the pavilion, with a child in her arms holding a rattle. The child had blue hair, and when he opened his mouth to smile, his jagged, uneven teeth were revealed. The woman held the child and gently stroked the child's head. The woman in kimono stopped by the pavilion and said to Kazuma Kobayakawa, "Please wait here for a while, someone will come to see you later." Kobayakawa Kazuma nodded. He walked towards the blue-haired woman with interest and asked, "What is this child's name?" The blue-haired woman looked at Kobayakawa. She stroked the child's head lovingly and said in a soft voice, "Suigetsu, Ghostlight Suigetsu." Kobayakawa Kazuma was slightly startled, and then he couldn't help but laugh. "Kaiden Suigetsu, he will definitely become a great ninja in the future." After waiting for a few minutes, a middle-aged man with black hair walked out of the gray building and said to Kazuma Kobayakawa, "Give me Masami's letter." Kazuma Kobayakawa gave the letter delivered by Masami Terumi to the other party. Although this man had his hair turned black, he should be from the Onodin clan. The middle-aged man with black hair opened the letter and took a look at it. The expression on his face gradually became serious. He packed the letter and put it in his arms. He said, "Pufferfish, you can rest here for a few days and wait until you have rested. Return to Kurigakure. Excuse me for disturbing you." Kazuma Kobayakawa also wanted to take a rest. He hadn't had a good night's sleep since the letter delivery mission began. However, the code name, Pufferfish, is really ugly. Whenever Kazuma Kobayakawa hears this code name, he feels that the name of the Dark Knight organization is terrible. The task was completed, and Kazuma Kobayakawa finally relaxed. He lay down on the bench in the booth and looked up at the dark blue sky. Different from the weather in Kurigakure, the weather in Ozomura is bright and refreshing, and the summer breeze blowing on your face is quite pleasant. The young ghost Deng Shuiyu was walking around. He didn't seem to be able to master his own power. Occasionally he would fall to the ground and break into a puddle of liquid. However, the liquid was quickly put back together. Until the afternoon, Kobayakawa Kazuma wanted to take a rest. He left the booth and walked to the entrance of the blue-gray building. A young man from the Ghost Lantern clan walked out of the building. He looked at Kazuma Kobayakawa, his pupils narrowed, and his eyes gradually became serious. "Are you Kazuma Kobayakawa?" The young man looked at Kazuma Kobayakawa, and his expression suddenly changed. "Who are you?" Kazuma Kobayakawa threw the question back. The young man suddenly rushed out and rushed towards Kobayakawa Kazuma, with murderous intent in his fists. Kobayakawa Kazuma dodged sideways, took out the ninja sword from his back, untied the layers of fabric, and revealed the scabbard. "My brother Kito Ichiro and uncle Kito Daichi both died in your hands. Their children are still waiting at home, you executioner." The young man took out a shuriken from his ninja bag and shot at Kobayakawa Ichi. Real. The little premature Kazuma casually dodged the shuriken, and his figure appeared behind the young man in the next moment. The ninja sword was pressed against the opponent's neck. It was Shunshin technique. Although he was prepared, the moment he was recognized, Kazuma Kobayakawa was still a little helpless. He was not the kind of pervert ninja who liked to kill people. A falling out would not be good for anyone. However, as a ninja, sometimes you have to go against your own heart. At this moment, a middle-aged man walked out of the building. He pointed his right hand at Kazuma Kobayakawa in the shape of a pistol. "Don't move, or I'll kill him." The force of the ninja sword in Kobayakawa Kazuma's hand caused bloody marks on the young man's neck. When the young man saw the blood flowing down his neck, tears overflowed and rolled in his eyes. "Wait, Kobayakawa, Don't use too much force. The blade is going to cut my throat. The young man stared at the blade close to his neck and begged for mercy. Do you want to betray the organization? Pufferfish. Seeing that Kobayakawa Kazuma had the intention to kill, the middle-aged man took out the organization to threaten him. He put down his hand and said in a steady voice, "Let him go and kill Daichi and Ichiro. We will not pursue the matter." Kazuma Kobayakawa didn't care at all. To be honest, he had no sense of belonging to the Dark Knight organization, and of course, Kurigakure. Chapter 31. Kido Daichi and Kido Ichiro were killed, but they didn't kill me. But now, you are the first to turn against your compatriots. Kobayakawa Kazuma looked at the middle-aged man and chuckled. Let's do this. As to compensate me, he would exchange his life for me with the secret technique of the Water Lamp Clan, the water transformation technique. Kobayakawa Kazuma has long been interested in the hydration technique. Although this ninjutsu has no offensive power, it can turn the body into liquid, which can be said to be immune to most physical attacks. What's more, the hydration technique is an excellent option whether you're hiding or escaping. You can only learn the hydration technique by complying with the blood inheritance limit of our Ghost Lantern clan. In fact, many Gui Lan clan people with more remote blood connections cannot learn this secret technique, and you can't learn it either. The middle-aged man exhaled and persuaded. After a little analysis, Kazuma Kobayakawa realized that what the middle-aged man said was true. After all, in the original work of Hokage, only a few members of the Onilan clan have demonstrated the hydration technique. It can be seen that the hydration technique does need the help of the blood succession limit. Even if the blood succession limit is enough, it can be used without learning. For example, Gui Deng Shuiyu, who is just 2 or 3 years old, can turn into a puddle of water with just a drop. Then I won't embarrass you. Let's change the conditions. Since you can't obtain the hydration technique through learning, it would be better to have a child with a blood inheritance limit. According to the rewards of the system, the child born will have a blood inheritance limit. Then Kobayakawa Kazuma can also obtain the corresponding blood inheritance limit. Therefore, the stronger the offspring is, the stronger Kazuma Kobayakawa will be. Therefore, no matter what, he must seize the opportunity to have more children. What conditions? The middle-aged man's attitude softened a little again. Being able to negotiate conditions shows that Kobayakawa Kazu is really a rational ninja. Such a ninja can negotiate peace. Let Kaiden Suigetsu's mother live with me for a month. I want her to give me a child. Kobayakawa Kazuma looked at the middle-aged man with calm eyes. A woman who can give birth to such geniuses as Kido Suigetsu and Kido Mengetsu, let alone her ninja qualifications, must be very good in terms of blood inheritance. If she gives birth to a child with such a woman, there is definitely a high probability of becoming a blood successor of the Kido clan. Limits. With the blood inheritance limit, the hydration technique can naturally be obtained. The middle-aged man's face was calmer than that of Kazuma Kobayakawa. He raised his right hand again and made a pistol gesture towards Kazuma Kobayakawa. Tears flowed from his eyes and said, Daichi and Ichiro are both dead. Saburo, I know you. If you want to follow them, I will send Kobayakawa on the road with you. Master, I never thought about following my brother and uncle. Isn't it just a woman? Why don't you give this woman to Kobayakawa-senpai and marry another one? By the way, my mother can marry you. Oniden Saburo's expression, it was a big change. Seeing that both Kobayakawa and the head of the family wanted him to die, he was already devastated. Then let's change the conditions. Kobayakawa Kazuma had no choice but to relax. Who would have thought that the man in front of him was actually the father of Ghost Light and Water Moon? In the end, the middle-aged man did not take action against Kazuma Kobayakawa. After some wrangling, the two finally exchanged Saburo Onido with AB-level water style. Water Dragon Bomb Technique. After taking the ninjutsu scroll, Kobayakawa Kazuma naturally did not dare to live in Oso village. He immediately set off and returned to Kurigakure. After all, if you continue to stay in Dazang village after offending the Ghost Lantern clan, you will be in a very dangerous situation. However, Kazuma Kobayakawa still had thoughts in his mind about Ghost Light Suigetsu's mother. If you can get the blood inheritance limit of the Oniden clan, you might be able to gain enough power even if you don't go to Konoha village. Whether it's for himself, his family, or the village, Kazuma Kobayakawa must find a way to marry more Kunoichi. Perhaps this process will be looked down upon by the world, but Kazuma Kobayakawa doesn't care. The protagonist's inner thoughts have nothing to do with the author. After another week of traveling, Kazuma Kobayakawa arrived outside Kurigakure. With the organization's support, the process of returning to Kurigakure seemed relatively smooth. Kobayakawa Kazuma did not alarm any ninjas. He returned to the organization and returned to Terumi Masami. The completion of this mission is very satisfactory. You can choose a simple C-level ninjutsu, or 30,000 taels in cash. In the dark room, the beating red light illuminated Terumi Masami's face, and the clothes on her body. The red kimono outlines the body curves of the chest, and she holds a lady's pipe in her hand, with smoke blowing out from her mouth and nose. Kobayakawa Kazuma thought for a while. For him, C-level ninjutsu was of no use. Only B-level or A-level ninjutsu could make his strength further. Kazuma Kobayakawa looked at Masami Terumi and asked, "If I want you to give birth to a child for me, what conditions need to be met?" Although he is also a member of the Terumi clan, his blood relationship with Terumi Masami is almost negligible. Moreover, in the ninja world, it is quite normal for people of the same clan to intermarry. Marrying Terumi Masami will not only have a higher probability of giving birth to children who will inherit the bloodline, but also better protect Terumi Mei. Maybe Yami will make sister's rice bowl for Terumi Mei to eat. Terumi Masami looked at Kobayakawa Kazuma and suddenly smiled. Kobayakawa Kazuma is indeed a powerful ninja, and his strength will not be lost to him who has the blood inheritance limit. Moreover, she also needs Kazuma Kobayakawa's chess piece now. After all, there are not many people in Kurigakure who can kill Jonin. When you have the same status as me in the organization, I can agree to your proposal. Zhao Meiyame replied. Then I will achieve it as soon as possible. Kazuma Kobayakawa left the organization. He used the transformation technique to change his appearance and walked in Kurigakure. Until night, Kazuma Kobayakawa came to the underground black market again. Now, his channels for obtaining ninjutsu are still too limited, and the underground black market is the main channel for obtaining ninjutsu. Water style. Water dragon bomb technique is a B-level ninjutsu, but its lethality is too limited and does not help much in improving strength. It's better to exchange the water dragon bomb technique. Maybe you can exchange it for the ninjutsu you want. If not, you can exchange it for cash. Now Kobayakawa Kazuma is very short of cash. After joining the Dark Knight organization, he lost the channel to make money. The only task that can make money is delivering letters. Fortunately, during this period, he did not have the pressure to support his family. With the help of Mizukage Yagura, he could relax a little. Finding a random location, Kobayakawa Kazuma wrote down a request: B-level ninjutsu water style. Water dragon bomb, which can be exchanged for water style ninjutsu of the same level, or 300,000 taels in cash. After a while, a tall man with half of his face covered in bandages and half wearing a mask came to Kazuma Kobayakawa. He glanced at the scroll and asked, "I will use summoning technique in exchange for your water style. Water dragon bomb, how about it?" Summoning technique. Kobayakawa Kazuma looked up at the tall man and confirmed, "What type of summoning beast?" Summoning ninjutsu can also be regarded as a kind of time and space ninjutsu. Although this ninjutsu is only B-level, its upper and lower limits are extremely high. It can be said that if you can summon a character like Toad Boss, the power is comparable to S-level ninjutsu. If you can only summon Kakashi's ninja dog, then don't talk about power. Only if you agree to trade with me can I tell you the detailed information about the summoning beast. The tall man said with a smile on his lips. Kobayakawa thought for a moment and agreed, "Deal." The summoning beast can be said to be a ninja's secret. Unless there is a certain relationship, it is generally not told to others. What kind of summoning beast can be exchanged for the water dragon bomb depends on luck. This is not a place for trading. Come with me. The tall man called Kazuma Kobayakawa out of the underground black market. The two left until they came to the edge of the village, an open space surrounded by woods. "Can we talk now? You're summoning mon." Kazuma Kobayakawa looked at the tall man and asked. The tall man took off his mask, and Kazuma Kobayakawa could see his face clearly, and couldn't help but twitch his lips. Among the 7 ninja swordsmen, The first master of the beheading sword is Juzo Juzo. Kobayakawa Kazuma quickly searched for information about Loquat Juzo. He was an ordinary ninja and had nothing to do with the blood successor Kaikai family. However, after Yagura issued an order to clear out the blood successor Kaikai ninjas, Loquat Juzo disappeared. Gone. In other words, Loquat Juzo betrayed the village and sided with the blood succession limit ninja. Are you surprised? Kobayakawa Kazuma. Loquat Juzang squinted at Kobayakawa Kazuma and asked. Kobayakawa Kazuma retreated more than 10 meters and distanced himself from Loquat Juzo. With his current strength, he was still too reluctant to face the 7 ninja swordsmen. Only by using crystal style to sneak attack, he might have a chance. Don't be so nervous, I just completed the transaction. Loquat Juzang did not chase after him. He bit his thumb and drew a bloodline on the back of his hand. Summoning technique. White mist filled the air, and what appeared in the white mist was a black octopus that looked harmless to humans and animals. Juzang, why did you summon me when I was laying eggs? Do you, an idiot, know how important spawning is to the octopus? The octopus narrowed his eyes and looked at Pippa Juzang, and dyed the opponent with a mouthful of thick ink, black. Biwa Juzo said to Kobayakawa Kazuma with a dark face, this guy is my summoning beast. Although he has no ability, he has a certain intelligence. He can use the reverse summoning technique and squeeze into a small space. He is a good detective. Good hands. Kazuma Kobayakawa nodded and exchanged the water dragon bomb technique for a group of octopuses. This exchange made a lot of money. After signing the octopus summoning scroll, the summoning technique is completed. Summoning technique is a special ninjutsu. The completion degree displayed on the system interface is directly 100%. Summoning mon can be summoned as long as the contract is signed. As for the power and size of the summoned summoning mon, it is related to the amount of chakra and the thoughts of the caster. Thank you, Mr. Loquat Juzang. Kobayakawa Kazuma released the summoning technique and thanked Loquat Juzang. Everyone knows that exchanging water style. Water dragon bomb for an intelligent summoning beast is a huge profit. Just think of it as cultivating talents for the organization. I believe you can achieve greater achievements, Kobayakawa Kazuma. Loquat Juzang turned around and his back disappeared into the night. Kobayakawa Kazuma didn't stay too long, but he finally found out that Loquat Juzo of the 7 ninja swordsmen was also in the Dark Knight organization. It seems that the organization established by guys with blood inheritance boundaries is not that simple after all. In daily life, Kazuma Kobayakawa has never neglected the practice of ninjutsu. In the blink of an eye, he has joined the Dark Knight organization for 2 months. Kazuma Kobayakawa has also completed several message delivery missions during these 2 months. If nothing else, by the end of next month, he will be an insider of the organization. In the past few months, Kobayakawa Kazuma has also met many ninjas affiliated with Terumi Masami. Their strength is generally at the genin level, and they have no blood inheritance limit, so they can only complete some simple tasks. Although Kazuma Kobayakawa has not been a member of the organization for a long time, he has a record of killing Jonin Akizono Kagura, which also leads to Kazuma Kobayakawa's prestige among messengers. In the evening, Kazuma Kobayakawa gathered in Terumi Masami's bar, and the colorful Madara lights reflected unreal figures. Obayakawa Senpai, I heard about the woman you mentioned, a ninja who knows crystal style. Opposite Kobayakawa Kazuma, nearly 30-year-old Aoba whispered the news while sipping wine. Where, Kobayakawa Kazuma deliberately pretended to be calm, but in fact he was very nervous inside. From the moment he entered the organization, he was trying to find Yukomori and his children through certain channels. If possible, Kazuma Kobayakawa still hopes that Yukomori can temporarily put aside revenge, and he also does not want the woman he slept with to die inexplicably. Here, Kang Yi-yu handed a note to Kobayakawa Kazuma. Kobayakawa Kazuma quietly stuffed the note into his clothes, and he returned a 5,000 tael note to Kang Yi-yu. Thank you, Kobayakawa Senpai, I finally collected 490,000 taels. I am only 10,000 taels short of marrying her. Kang Yi-yu's eyes were full of longing. He joined the Dark Knight organization not because of blood inheritance restrictions or anything like that, but purely for the high rewards. In Kurigakure, ordinary people also have a term similar to betrothal gift, when they get married, and Aobayu's betrothal gift is 500,000 taels. Such a price is almost astronomical for a genin. Kobayakawa Kazuma and Aobayu, this mission is at Akita Port. Please give this letter to the people in Cloud Shinobi. Terumi Masami appeared and handed an envelope to Aobayu. Yes, Lord Masami. Aobayu put the letter away. He and Kobayakawa Kazuma made an appointment to meet at a meeting place and left first. After Aobayu left, Kobayakawa Kazuma looked at Terumi Masami and asked, why should Aobayu go with him? His strength is too weak. Bringing him along will hardly help the mission. Kazuma, are you questioning me? Masami Terumi approached Kazuma Kobayakawa and sprayed smoke on Kazuma Kobayakawa's face. Under the kimono, the faint curve appeared in front of Kazuma Kobayakawa's eyes. Then, she took out another letter from her arms, grabbed Kobayakawa Kazuma's hand, and reminded her in her ear, the letter you Aoba took is a fake. If necessary, you can abandon him. No matter what, Yui must come back safely, there are not many of the Terumi clan left. The warm breath made Kobayakawa Kazuma frown, and Aoyayu was treated as a pawn. The leaders of these organizations are really capable. Yami, don't forget your promise to me. Kobayakawa Kazuma accepted the letter. The world of ninjas is so cruel. Many times, Terumi Masami uses special means to protect the organization. However, today's mission made Kazuma Kobayakawa a little happy. After working hard for so long, he finally got to contact Cloud Shinobi. As long as the seal scroll stolen by Cloud Shinobi can be locked, the A-level mission is half completed, and it is only a matter of time before he becomes a Jonin. Before the gathering, Kazuma Kobayakawa took the time to walk down Shimono Street. This street is located to the west of the Mizukage building. You can see the sea below the mountain at the end of the street. It is a relatively remote area of Kurigakure. Due to his sensitive identity, Kazuma Kobayakawa would use the transformation technique to hide his identity when he went out. He came to Shimono Street at night and sneaked into the courtyard. The lights in the room were dim, and the sound of gurgling water sounded. Kazuma Kobayakawa looked through the window, and Yukomori was lying in the bathtub, holding a crystal-clear, crystal-like crystal in her hand. With continuous practice, she can increase her proficiency in the crystal style, although the scale of the ninjutsu will not become larger. Seeing that Yukomori was safe and sound, Kazuma Kobayakawa breathed a sigh of relief. At least until that day came, there was still room for redemption. Yu-chan. Kazuma Kobayakawa walked around the window and knocked on the door. The next moment, the lights in the room went out, and Kobayakawa Kazuma sighed. Since Yukomori didn't intend to see him, he had no choice but to leave. Ishima-kun. Just as Kazuma Kobayakawa was about to leave, the door opened from the inside, and Yukomori's voice echoed in the empty night. Kazuma Kobayakawa used the teleportation technique to come to Yukomori. He picked up Yukomori and felt a silky feeling on his hands. Komori Yu, who had given birth to a child, was not out of shape at all. Kobayakawa Kazuma put Komori Yu on the bed, and the night gradually became heated. In the morning, Kazuma Kobayakawa woke up from his sleep, and when he opened his eyes, he saw Yukomori sleeping next to him. It was so dark last night that he didn't notice that there were many scars on Yukomori's body. Some of them looked like scars, and some were new additions. After a while, Komori Yu slowly woke up from her sleep. After changing her clothes, she took a shower and then started preparing breakfast. The hot oil made a sizzling sound, and Yukomori put the prepared meat steak in the pan and started frying it. Kazuma Kobayakawa hugged Yukomori from behind and asked, "Where is our child?" Kobayakawa Kazuma knew that the child had been born successfully, but he was a little surprised that he did not see the child in Komori Yu's place. The child was given to others for adoption by me. Before killing Yagura, I will not implicate him. Yukomori picked up the steak with chopsticks and turned it over, with a solemn look on his face. Can you tell me the location? I will protect him when this mission is completed. Kazuma Kobayakawa asked. As a father, he wanted to be responsible. Sorry, Ma-kun. Yukomori shook his head and explained. If you had not betrayed the village and were still a Chunin, I would have told you. But now, I don't want the existence of the two of us to affect the future of the child. Quote. That's it. Little premature Kazuma was sucking in the fragrance of little Moryu, and he didn't ask any more questions. The mission he said was over was after he got the sealing scroll back. Since Yukomori didn't want to talk, he didn't want to ask. After all, he didn't know when he would be able to complete the task. After breakfast, Kobayakawa Kazuma changed into clothes and left. "Yu-chan, I hope you can become stronger. In that case, you will be more confident in assassinating the fourth Mizukage." After leaving a word, Kazuma Kobayakawa's figure flashed across his face instantly, and he left. Although he could not persuade Yukomori to let go of his hatred, Kazuma Kobayakawa hoped that Yukomori could think about it for as long as possible, perhaps until he could grow up. After meeting Aoyeu, Kobayakawa Kazuma and Aoyeu left the village together. Due to the existence of the traitor, it became easier for him to leave the village. The location of this mission is not far from Kurigakure, but it is more dangerous due to the presence of patrolling ninjas. After avoiding 3 waves of patrolling ninjas, Kazuma Kobayakawa and Ueoba finally left the range of Kurigakure, and then headed to Akita Port. It is said that Akita Port is a contact point for Cloud Shinobi Village. After 2 days of traveling, Kobayakawa Kazuma was far away from Kurigakure and getting closer to Akita Port. He could already hear the breath of the sea breeze. Soaring seabirds, forest beasts, everything is so ubiquitous. In front of his sight, a seabird left the group and flew deep into the forest. Finally, the mission is about to be completed. Kang Ye-yu breathed out and felt a little more relaxed. He had been uneasy since receiving the mission. Now that he was finally approaching his destination, he felt like he was one step closer to marrying the girl he loved. "Don't be careless. At times like this, you should be more vigilant," Kazuma Kobayakawa reminded him. He felt that this mission was too easy. Running quickly out of the dense forest, Kobayakawa Kazuma could already see the ships docked at the pier, getting closer and closer to Akita Port. Suddenly, a burst of thick fog obscured the sight of Kazuma Kobayakawa and Yu Aoi. Kobayakawa Kazuma was slightly startled. He grabbed Kang Ye-yu's shoulders and quickly retreated. At some point, a thick fog obscured the road ahead. The visibility of this thick fog was extremely low, making the outside of the forest seem to be filled with a world of fog. "What the hell?" Kobayakawa Kazuma frowned. If this is the mist shinobi technique performed by someone, then the amount of chakra of the caster is really large. At least, it is the same as him, with more than 3 Kakashi's chakra. You know, the chakra of Hatake Kakashi is the chakra of elite Jonin. Not to mention 3 Kakashi's chakra, just 1 Kakashi's chakra, which is quite outstanding in the ninja world. Change direction. Kobayakawa Kazuma immediately took Kang Ye-yu back to the forest. Since this road couldn't be passed, he had to change another road. If it really doesn't work, we can only cancel the message delivery mission and give up investigating Cloud Shinobi's organization. After running for dozens of minutes and passing big trees, a man with orange hair suddenly appeared in front of Kobayakawa Kazuma's sight. The man's hands and feet are bandaged, and he wears a mist shinobi forehead protector. His arms are raised, and there is a white seabird on his arm. As the man's arms shook, the seabird flew high into the sky, hovering and making a low cry. Kobayakawa Kazuma, the Chunin who passed the Chunin exam with honors last year, has high hopes from Mizukage Yagura-sama. The orange-haired man looked at Kobayakawa Kazuma. His voice was extremely gentle, like a spring breeze. "Why would someone like you, with 2 wives who love you, betray the village?" Goji asked, staring at Kazuma Kobayakawa. "Senior Kobayakawa, it's Jonin. Ichigo Ichigo." Aoyeu looked at the orange-haired man blankly. His body was shaking slightly because of fear, and his legs were as heavy as lead. "Can we still go back alive?" Kang Ye-yu looked blankly and asked Kobayakawa. For every ninja village, Jonin is the village's powerful fighting force. One of them can be equal to several ninja teams composed of Chunin, and their strength is unfathomable. It can be said that every Jonin is famous in the ninja world. If we say that Jonin in particular has a bounty of about 1 million taels on the black market, then, a serious Jonin from the 5 great nations generally has a bounty of more than 8 million ryo. The strength gap between Chunin and Jonin is all round. Kobayakawa Kazuma was also sweating. He had thought about explaining his identity, but if he did, it would mean that the mission had failed. Besides, even if it was really said, would the Goji family believe it? He killed Akizono Kagura and used Akizono Kagura's head to join the Dark Knight organization. Remember the order of seal formation: Hai, Shu, Yu, Shen, Wei, and wait until you are in a safe place to form this seal. Kazuma Kobayakawa bit his thumb and smeared the blood on the back of Kangye-yu's hand. Next, just delay the time. If Kangye-yu can escape smoothly, he should be able to escape smoothly too. What I betrayed was not the village, but the will of a certain adult. Kazuma Kobayakawa pulled out his ninja sword, rushed towards Goju Kazu, and slashed out with the sword, and the brilliance of chakra flowed with the blade. After leaving the village, I could finally say this. Goju Kato blocked Kobayakawa Kazuma's ninja sword with a kunai, and Jonin's reaction was sharper than expected. Earth style. Spear of Earth. Goji jumped back to avoid Kobayakawa Kazuma's sword. His seal was completed very fast, the moment he landed on the ground. The Goju family pressed the ground with one hand, and the ground under Kobayakawa Kazuma's feet immediately shook, and the ground turned into spikes and stabbed towards Kobayakawa Kazuma. A huge chakra erupted under Kobayakawa Kazuma's feet. He walked among the spikes and quickly dodged away. The range of this ninjutsu was wider, making 20 meters around Kobayakawa covered by the attack range of the earth spear. Suddenly, an earth spear stabbed towards Kobayakawa Kazuma's chest. Kobayakawa Kazuma held his ninja sword across his chest and blocked the attack. He was also pushed back by the power of the earth spear and escaped from the attack circle. Clone technique. Kobayakawa Kazuma formed a seal with one hand, and in an instant, several clones rushed towards Goju Aikido. Kobayakawa Kazuma was among the clones, and the clones of his body kept changing their positions. Earth style. Yellow Springs Marsh. The Goju family once again formed a seal, and Wankwanuma turned the land around Kobayakawa Kazuma into a puddle of mud and became a swamp. Kazuto's eyes moved rapidly, looking for his true body among the clones. The clones were not entities, and even if they fell into the swamp, they would not cause the swamp to change, but the real Kazuma Kobayakawa was different. Finally, Goju saw a wooden stake among the clones, and his spirit became as tense as a bowstring. Kobayakawa Kazuma is not in the clone, where is he? Just as the Goju family was wondering, the real Kazuma Kobayakawa had fallen from the sky, and the ninja sword in his hand flashed with cold light, and he slashed at the Goju family. The dead souls of the Goju family appeared, and the kunai in their hands spun around, struggling to block Kobayakawa Kazuma's blow. When facing Kazuma Kobayakawa, who has a chakra capacity of 2.6 calories, as a Jonin, his strength is not superior. There's another knife. How could it be? Doesn't Kobayakawa Kazuma Tsukikage have any starting moves? Aikido Goju watched the shadow knife fall on his body. He quickly avoided it, but the ninja knife still cut him, and a piece of flesh and blood was attached. The ninja tool bag on his waist fell. Seeing that the attack he had prepared for a long time had no effect, Kobayakawa Kazuma became solemn in his heart. Tsukikage's power was second only to the water iron cannon among the ninjutsu he had mastered. He failed to win even if the opponent was careless. Come down, he won't get another chance. Although the water iron cannon's attack power is powerful, Jonin's reactions are generally very powerful and he will never stand as a target for himself. Water style. Mist shinobi technique. Kobayakawa Kazuma opened his mouth and spit out a thick fog. In just a moment, the thick fog covered an area of 500 meters in radius, which was comparable to the size of a football field. He picked up his ninja bag, hid in the thick fog, and fled in the direction he had noted in his mind. Without the use of the crystal style, he would not be able to defeat Godachibana Aikido, but if he uses the crystal style, his biggest secret will be exposed, and the matter of becoming Jonin will most likely be ruined. Therefore, in the current situation, running away is the best solution. Fire style. Great fire extinguishes. Suddenly, the voice of Goju House appeared in the mist, and a flame was released with Goju House as the center, igniting nearby trees in a circular shape. Countless flames joined together, raging in the thick fog, and when the thick fog met the flames, it quickly melted. Soon, the remaining thick fog was no longer enough to block people's sight. The Goji family saw Kazuma Kobayakawa and formed seals again. Fire style. Dragon fire technique. Flames spurted out from Goji's door, turned into a dragon shape, and shot towards Kazuma Kobayakawa like a laser. Hiss. A powerful chakra erupted from Kazuma Kobayakawa's feet. The dragon fire, which was avoided by the teleportation technique, continued to advance and penetrated more than a dozen giant trees that were hugged by several people. Black ashes flew out from where the giant trees were burned. As this Jonin, Kobayakawa Kazuma finally understood how big the gap between Jonin and Chunin was when he actually fought against Jonin. The knife he prepared with all his strength did not hurt Kazuki Godachibana at all, but the ninjutsu released by Kazuki Godachibana would immediately lose the ability to resist as long as one of them was hit. More importantly, the Goji family has a lot of ninjutsu, and no one knows what kind of ninjutsu the other party will come up with if it continues. Clone technique. Kazuma Kobayakawa repeated his old tricks, using clone technique to disrupt the opponent's sight, and he took the opportunity to escape. Fire style. The fire is extinguished. Kazuma Kobayakawa spit out flames again and attacked Kazuma Kobayakawa. In the next moment, Kazuma Kobayakawa smiled at the opponent and exploded into a ball of white mist. This sudden scene stunned the Goju family. Kobayakawa Kazuma disappeared too suddenly. It was not a clone technique, let alone some bad transformation technique. It seemed like a time and space ninjutsu. It's the seal just now. I didn't expect that he actually had a summoning beast of this level. Aikido Goju recalled the genin who escaped in the first place and realized that Kobayakawa disappeared because of the summoning technique. Kobayakawa Kazuma, what a terrible chunin, his rebellion will cause immeasurable losses to Kurigakure. Goju hit the tree next to him with one punch, and the big tree where the three of them hugged trembled and swayed. Stand up. After this battle, the Goju family had to pay attention to the strength of Kobayakawa Kazuma. Now, with the rebellion of the blood successor limit ninja, there are only 12 Jonin left in the village. Kobayakawa Kazuma, who can compete with Jonin in a head-on confrontation, really, no doubt a big threat. Deep in the forest, in a cave, a bear corpse fell to the side, with several brown bear scratches on Kang Yeyu's face. In front of Kang Yeyu, Kobayakawa Kazuma suddenly appeared. After leaving the battlefield, Kang Yeyu quickly looked for a hiding place. After half an hour of escaping, he finally selected this cave. Then, borrowing the blood of Kobayakawa Kazuma, he summoned the summoning beast octopus, and the octopus used the reverse summoning technique to summon the caster back. Saved. Kobayakawa Kazuma was relieved after appearing. Faced with Jonin's attack, he began to be unable to parry. Fortunately, the octopus could reverse summoning, so he escaped. Hey, Kazuma Kobayakawa. The octopus opened its mouth and spat out the ink on Kazuma Kobayakawa's face. Didn't I remind you? Don't just summon the octopus during the spawning period, seriously. Sorry, you can go back now. Kobayakawa Kazuma said. There is no superior subordinate relationship between summoning beasts and ninjas, but a win-win relationship, so Kazuma Kobayakawa cannot manipulate the octopus at will. A summoning mon with a temper is a flaw, but Kazuma Kobayakawa knows that it is rare for a chunin to have a summoning mon, not to mention that this octopus still has a human IQ. After sending the octopus away, Kobayakawa Kazuma released water style. The water turbulence washed away the ink, and then opened the ninja bag in his hand. This ninja tool bag belongs to Goju Aikido, a Jonin bag, and there should be some good things in it. The first thing that catches the eye are two scrolls. One scroll has the word, Cloud, written on the cover, and the other has the word, Go, written on it. These two scrolls, one comes from Cloud Shinobi Village and is the trophy of the Goju family, and the other one was made by the Goji family themselves. Kazuma Kobayakawa carefully opened the scroll, injected it with chakra and threw it aside. A scroll like this may contain ninjutsu, or it may be a trap for certain techniques, so it's better to be careful. One of the ninjutsu scrolls fell to the ground without any movement, while the other ninjutsu scroll exploded into a cloud of white mist. Along with the white mist, a huge shuriken appeared. Obviously, one of these two scrolls belongs to the summoning scroll, but the thing that comes out of summoning is not a summoning beast, but a ninja tool. Apart from these two scrolls in the ninja tool bag, the rest are shurikens, kunai or wires commonly used by ninjas. These items are also worth a little money, but they are still far behind the summoning scrolls. Kazuma Kobayakawa put the huge shuriken back into the scroll. He picked up another scroll and took a look. He found that the ninjutsu recorded in this scroll was AC level ninjutsu used for torture, the Jushin technique. This ninjutsu can invade other people's brains to obtain information. Of course, people whose brains are invaded will be left with serious sequelae, and the best-case scenario is the loss of some memories. Kobayakawa Kazuma was overjoyed. He was worried about how to obtain information about the seal scroll. Now with the Tuma technique, as long as you find an important person in Cloud Shinobi, you might be able to use ninjutsu to search for relevant information. Moreover, the level of Tushin technique is only C level. For Kazuma Kobayakawa, who has C level qualifications, this ninjutsu is not difficult to learn. Kobayakawa Kazuma put the Tuma technique into his ninja tool bag, and he threw another ninja tool scroll to Aoba. When you get back from this mission, marry a wife and live a good life. The life of a ninja is not suitable for you, Kazuma Kobayakawa advised. Kang Ye-yu grabbed the summoning scroll and was extremely happy. The price of the summoning scroll and the ninja tool was no less than 100,000 taels, which was definitely a huge sum of money for genin. Thank you, Kobayakawa-senpai. Kang Ye-yu raised his voice and bowed to Kobayakawa. Kazuma Kobayakawa walked out of the cave. He unfolded the scroll of the Tushin technique and started studying the techniques. After a week, the completion rate of the Tushin technique reached 2%. With this degree of completion, Kazuma Kobayakawa can barely perform the ninjutsu. Although there is a risk of failure, it is still an attempt. After mastering the ninjutsu, Kobayakawa Kazuma continued the mission of delivering messages. This mission is a good opportunity to get in touch with the Cloud Shinobi ninjas and must not be missed easily. Kobayakawa Kazuma used some hiding methods and changed his route to sneak into Akita port. After learning that Goju Kazu can manipulate seabirds to find people, Kobayakawa Kazuma easily avoided the opponent's blockade and successfully sneaked into the city of Akita port by boat. When they entered Akita port again, the situation in the city had changed somewhat. The thick fog blocking the roads of Akita port had a tendency to move and seemed to be spreading towards the interior of Akita port. The thick fog was alive, as if it was looking for something. It seems that the mission needs to be stepped up. Kobayakawa Kazuma frowned. What is certain is that Jonin's appearance here was definitely not to kill him. His encounter with him was purely coincidental. Moreover, besides Goji, there must be more powerful ninjas here. Two Jonin appeared in Akita port, most likely preparing to destroy the Cloud Shinobi stronghold in Akita port. Arriving at the Fujiwara bar according to the delivery location, Kobayakawa Kazuma entered a room at the end of the bar. In the room, a man wearing yellow jeans was drinking wine. In his arms were two women dressed in cool clothes. One woman was sitting ambiguously on the man's lap, and the two were kissing. Who are you two? The man looked at Kazuma Kobayakawa and Ueoba, who had sneaked in using the transformation technique, and he was quite confused. Kazuma Kobayakawa glanced at the woman in the man's arms, and there was an air of embarrassment in the air. Looks like my friends are here. After the two looked at each other for a few seconds, the man pushed away the two women in his arms and sent them out of the room. Kazuma Kobayakawa walked into the room and exchanged the code, "When the anger of the night burns, the fourth king will fall from the throne." The man in jeans stood up. He hugged Kobayakawa Kazuma and said enthusiastically, "Welcome, the changer of Mist Shinobi. I am Fugu, we have a letter to deliver, and we need someone from Cloud Shinobi to sign for it." Kazuma Kobayakawa released the transformation technique and restored his original appearance. "No problem, follow me." The man in jeans walked to the wall. He triggered the mechanism, and a secret door was opened. Kazuma Kobayakawa followed the man in a suit underground. After walking up about 20 steps, his eyes suddenly opened up. White lights hung overhead, and a woman was sitting in the center of the room. Her appearance surprised Kazuma Kobayakawa. "Fran." Kobayakawa Kazuma blurted out. Yes, the person in front of him was the only female ninja among the three ninjas of Cloud Shinobi during the Chunin exam. She had black skin and was named Fran. "Kazuma Kobayakawa, how dare you show up?" Fran looked at Kazuma Kobayakawa in surprise. Anger rushed into her brain. She touched the ninja bag on her waist and used a handful of kunai, appeared in the hand. It was because of Kazuma Kobayakawa that Troy lost the qualification to become a ninja forever, and Darui's ninja sword was also snatched away by this guy. Fran has never forgotten this hatred. When she sees Kazuma Kobayakawa again, of course she can't help but take action. Kazuma Kobayakawa also took out the kunai from his ninja bag. He didn't have a good impression of the Cloud Shinobi people, so he might as well take the opportunity to teach Fran some lessons. Suddenly, a yellow thunder light appeared from a secret door in the room. A ninja quickly stood between Kobayakawa Kazuma and Fran. He pinched Kobayakawa Kazuma's wrist with one hand and held the short sword in the other, blocking Fran, of Kunai. The woman has short yellow shoulder-length hair, a proud figure, and white skin. Kobayakawa Kazuma was slightly startled. He could easily block his attack. This woman was very powerful and was probably the strongest fighting force left here in Cloud Shinobi Village. Opening the system, Kobayakawa Kazuma saw the other party's information. Name: Sammy. Age: 21. Beauty: B+. Ninja qualification: B. Blood inheritance limit: none. Kazuma Kobayakawa confirmed that indeed, Samui should be the strongest person left here in Cloud Shinobi. It is conservatively estimated that he has the strength of Jonin, even a level higher than that of Goju Aikido. Looking at Fran again, Kobayakawa Kazuma compared her with Samui. Name: Fran. Age: 17. Beauty laughing face. Ninja qualification: D. Blood inheritance limit: none. This comparison made Kobayakawa Kazuma even more convinced that Samui was the strongest combatant left here. Compared to Sammy, Fran's beauty and talent are nothing special. Flan, calm down, this is not the place to resolve personal grudges. Samui looked at Kazuma Kobayakawa. She was a little curious about the ninja who seriously injured Troy. On the surface, Kobayakawa is really ordinary. He looks like a fool among the crowd and is easily ignored. However, it is definitely not that simple for Chunin to be able to seriously injure Troy. Where's the letter? Sammy stood up proudly and stretched out his hand to Kazuma Kobayakawa. The letter is here with me. Kang Yiyu's face turned red. Looking at Sammy's figure, he swallowed his saliva silently. Touching his chest with his right hand, Kang Ye slowly took out an envelope soaked in sweat from his chest and handed it to Sammy's hand with trembling. Kazuma Kobayakawa sighed, took out the envelope, handed it to Samui, and said, "This is the real one." Suddenly, Sammy and Kang Ye looked at Kobayakawa Kazuma at the same time, with surprise in their eyes. Kobayakawa Kazuma didn't say much. Sammy put the two letters in his chest clothes and said to Kobayakawa Kazuma and Aoyu, "Thank you for your hard work, you can rest here for a few days." "Thank you, beautiful lady." Kazuma Kobayakawa agreed as a matter of course. The purpose of his mission this time was to contact Cloud Shinobi Village. Now that he had an excuse to stay, of course he would not miss it. Kang Ye and Kobayakawa Kazuma temporarily stayed in the bar. Kang Ye was uneasy and seemed to want to go back to get married early. Kobayakawa Kazuma was cuddling with the dancer in the bar. He had no self-consciousness about being married and still enjoyed the madness of an adult. In addition to playing with dancing girls, Kazuma Kobayakawa also uses his spare time to practice the Tuma technique, and he has a C-level qualification to learn C-level ninjutsu. His progress is not even a little faster than ordinary people. In the blink of an eye, a week passed, and Kobayakawa Kazuma's system panel made progress again. Name: Kazuma Kobayakawa. Lifespan: 35 years. Chakra: 2.6 calories. Ninja qualification: C 9/20. Blood succession limit: crystal style. Ninjutsu: body replacement technique 40% completion, transformation technique 35% completion, clone technique 34% completion, water style. Mist shinobi technique 29% completion, sword technique. Tsukikage complete 27%, water style. Water cannon 12% completion, truth technique 4% completion. With the completion level of the Tuma technique reaching 4%, Kazuma Kobayakawa can already use this ninjutsu stably, although each use will be accompanied by a large amount of chakra waste. The ninjutsu completion rate of body replacement technique has also reached 40%, which has allowed Kobayakawa Kazuma's body replacement technique to undergo further changes. Originally, the body replacement technique required 3 seals, but now, Kobayakawa Kazuma only needs 1 seal to complete the ninjutsu. As far as the body replacement technique is concerned, Kobayakawa Kazuma is almost able to put his hands together and do whatever he shouts. During this week, Kazuma Kobayakawa became more and more certain about the conflict between the Cloud Shinobi stronghold and Kurigakure. Judging from Sam's nervous performance, There was no doubt that there were heavyweights among the ninjas encircling Akita Port, and maybe even he is one of the 7 ninja swordsmen. However, the situation of Kobayakawa Kazuma's contact with the Cloud Shinobi ninja was not optimistic. Although he and Aoba Yu were allowed to rest in the stronghold, they were not allowed to know anything about the Cloud Shinobi. In the afternoon, Kobayakawa Kazuma was still addicted to pleasure, his hands kept wandering around various warm places. On the side, Kang Ye-yu watched Kobayakawa Kazuma enjoying himself, sitting shyly in the corner and quietly swallowing his saliva. Senior Kobayakawa, I don't think Miss Samui is a bad person. Suddenly, Kang Ye-yu said. Kobayakawa Kazuma was slightly stunned. He recalled Kang Ye-yu's words and instantly understood that Kang Ye-yu was fascinated by Sammy. This is the first time I have met Kazuma Kobayakawa, a female ninja with B+ beauty. Indeed, she shouldn't be a bad person. Kobayakawa Kazuma responded nonchalantly. In fact, in this dark ninja world, how can there be good people and bad people? Everyone has a different perspective and will draw different conclusions. Suddenly, the door of the bar private room was pushed open, and the man in jeans looked hurriedly and said to Kobayakawa Kazuma and Aoba Yu, Mist Shinobi's people are here to encircle and suppress them. Please leave quickly. I understand. Kobayakawa Kazuma pushed the girl in his arms away, causing her to fall on the sofa in an ambiguous posture. Kazuma Kobayakawa changed into Jonin uniform, carried the Jonin sword on his back, and left the bar through the secret door with Aoba Yu. Thick fog filled the air, covering the road in front of me, and the streets were deserted. Kobayakawa Kazuma saw Fran and another dark-skinned Kunoichi running past his eyes, rushing towards the depths of the thick fog. In the thick fog, lightning flashes could occasionally be seen, and the sound of weapons being handed over continued one after another. It was obvious that someone was fighting. Aoba Yu, you leave along this road. I'm going to confirm the situation of Cloud Shinobi. Kobayakawa Kazuma warned Aoba Yu. He turned around and ran towards the thick fog, and his figure disappeared into the thick fog. Although it is dangerous to dive into the thick fog, this is Kazuma Kobayakawa's best chance. As long as he finds a ninja from Cloud Shinobi, he can use the Veritas technique to obtain information, and maybe he can find the scroll that seals the 3 tails. No, someone among these people must know the whereabouts of the sealing scroll. As long as there are enough samples, he will definitely be able to find the scroll that seals 3 tails. Traveling through the thick fog, Kobayakawa Kazuma quickly found the first ninja of Cloud Shinobi. Fran lost her way in the thick fog and got separated from the large army, scurrying around like a headless fly. For ninjas who have not observed ninjutsu, Mist Shinobi technique is a very scary ninjutsu, and entering it will make people unconsciously disoriented. In particular, the scope of this thick fog is so large that it roughly covers a radius of more than 3 kilometers, nearly half of the port city. Kobayakawa Kazuma, did you bring the enemy? In the thick fog, Fran also spotted Kobayakawa Kazuma's figure. She took out a kunai from her ninja bag and moved towards Kazuma Kobayakawa. Let's not talk about her previous hatred against Kobayakawa Kazuma. Simply by virtue of the fact that Kobayakawa Kazuma broke into the battlefield without permission, she can be regarded as an enemy. Therefore, facing Kazuma Kobayakawa who suddenly appeared, Fran didn't hold anything back. She was wrapped with lightning and her speed suddenly increased. This lightning is the first step in practicing Thunder Gai. When lightning is used to stimulate the cells in the body, it can not only greatly increase the speed and strength, but also make the reaction more agile, but it will be weak for a while afterwards. Die, Kazuma Kobayakawa. The kunai in Fran's hand flashed, and the hatred in her heart completely broke out at this moment. What greeted her was Kazuma Kobayakawa's contemptuous smile and the sharp pain in her shoulder. After just one meeting, Kazuma Kobayakawa pinched Fran's arm, and with a little force, the joint was dislocated. Ah! Fran screamed in pain in the thick fog. Kobayakawa Kazuma continued to act and disabled Fran's other arm. At this point, he grabbed Fran's chin with his hands, lifted it up and used the truth technique. 1 year has passed since the Chunin exam, and Fran is now at the level of an average Chunin, and is no longer a match for Kazuma Kobayakawa. In the center of the thick fog, Sammy held the short sword, and a bolt of lightning fell from the sky. It moved on the ground like a pillar connecting the sky and the earth, plowing a deep ravine. Her figure was erratic, wandering around the battlefield like a butterfly, and finally used the short sword to slash at a man holding two swords. The man crossed his swords to block Sammy's attack, and showed a polite smile to Sammy. With a little force, a ball of lightning flew out from the intersection of the two swords. Sammy quickly retreated, using the short sword in his hand to block the spherical thunder and lightning released by the man. The power of the thunder and lightning paralyzed half of her arms. As expected of Black Ho Thunder Fang, the user of Thunder Knife Fang. Her thunder and lightning are stronger than mine. Sammy felt solemn in his heart. If there was only one Black Ho Thunder Fang, she could barely hold on, but... Sammy raised his head, and there were dense seabirds hovering above his head. Behind Black Ho Thunder Fang, there was a man with orange hair. Ichigo Aikimo could manipulate seabirds to obtain information, and then tell Kuroki Raiga about it. The thick fog had little impact on the two. Under the obstruction of the thick fog, Samui was passive everywhere, and one by one, her subordinates died silently. Evacuate. Samui gritted her teeth and issued an order. She knew that there was no advantage in the thick fog. In order to protect the Chunin and Genin in the village, she had to choose to give up the mission. Even if she would be punished by Cloud Shinobi Village afterwards. She did not have the ninjutsu to break the thick fog. In this case, giving up the base of Akita Port was the right choice. Want to escape? Kuroki Raiga raised his double swords, and the crossed double swords gathered together. A lightning fell from the clouds and attached to the double swords. Thunder. Kuroki Raiga swung his double swords vigorously, and two lightnings hit a male ninja next to Samui. Samui held the short sword across her chest. She rushed over to block the attack, and urged the ninja to escape quickly. After taking the thunder, Samui's body became even stiffer, but for the sake of the village, she still chose to fight against Kuroki Raiga. Samui left with a flash technique until almost all the nearby ninjas had evacuated. Although she was no match for Kuroki Raiga, no one could stay if she wanted to escape. Running in the thick fog, Samui crossed a street and met Fran. Let's go, Fran. Samui's voice was still cold in the thick fog, but she specifically reminded a genin. Yes. Fran ran behind Samui, and Samui's graceful figure was reflected in his eyes, and he slowly drew out his ninja sword. The next moment, a ninja sword was inserted into Samui's chest, and the white fog exploded. Kobayakawa Kazuma looked down at Samui, letting the other party lose consciousness. He coated the ninja sword with poison, and as long as he stabbed Samui, he could subdue the other party. Are you Kobayakawa? Where is the real Fran? Samui looked at Kobayakawa Kazuma in confusion, her teeth clenched tightly, and with her right hand, she dug a bright red handprint on the bluestone brick road. Carrying the unconscious Samui, Kobayakawa Kazuma entered the thick fog. Before, Kobayakawa Kazuma had killed Fran, but he showed mercy to Samui. This woman has a high status and will definitely be useful in the future. Kobayakawa Kazuma, why did he conflict with Samui? When Aikido Koji used the seabird to find that Kobayakawa Kazuma was approaching him, he was a little confused. Kobayakawa Kazuma, who joined the Dark Knight organization with the head of Akizen Kagura, actually attacked Cloud Shinobi Village, which cooperated with the Dark Knight organization. Suddenly, Aikido Koji thought of something, and he moved slowly and walked towards Kobayakawa Kazuma. Kobayakawa Kazuma was looking for people in the thick fog based on the previous battle situation. This time, the thick fog covered a wide area, but the density was not high. At least, people and objects within 50 meters could be seen. Kobayakawa Kazuma, why are you here? Koji Aikihu walked out of the thick fog. He looked at Samui on Kobayakawa Kazuma's shoulder and spoke calmly. He knew that Kobayakawa Kazuma had ventured here because he wanted to say something to him. Seeing that Godachibana Aikido did not attack immediately, Kobayakawa Kazuma was relieved. From the previous fights, he could understand that Godachibana Aikido, a ninja, could still talk well, so he would try it with his arms. Try it with the attitude of contact. If the contact fails, you can only use crystal style to sneak attack and kill the enemy. Kazuma Kobayakawa does not intend to expose his blood successor limit, so once the blood successor limit is exposed, he can only kill the opponent with all his strength. Senior Aikido, I, Kazuma Kobayakawa, received an A-level mission from Lord Yagura. This mission is still in progress until now. Kazuma Kobayakawa told me about the mission he was doing to win the trust of Goji One household. Goji Aikido looked at Kobayakawa Kazuma indifferently, nodded slightly, and asked, "Is there anything you need my help with?" Goju Kazuto knows the existence of the reverse summoning technique, and also knows that Kazuma Kobayakawa's strength is not simple. Jonin Samui, this was a character that he and the Black Ho-Raiga of the 7 ninja swordsmen could not save, but now, he fell into the hands of Kobayakawa Kazuma. Kazuma Kobayakawa sighed. If he hadn't obtained vital information while searching Fran's brain, he would not have exposed his identity. If things are not handled well this time, the civil war between the Mist Shinobi will be triggered, and the Cloud Shinobi hiding in the dark will take the opportunity to sneak attack on Kurigakure and become the biggest profiteer of this war. Kobayakawa Kazuma, you are truly worthy of your reputation. Cloud Shinobi Jonin, which neither Aikido nor I could handle, was actually captured alive by you. In the thick fog, the figure of Black Ho Thunder Fang appeared, carrying 2 tokens on his back: the ninja sword, that is the Thunder Sword. Fang, Senior Lei Ya. Kazuma Kobayakawa's body tensed up and he subconsciously took a step back. It turns out that the legendary 7 ninja swordsmen are also here. No wonder, someone can hold up such a large area of dense fog. Unexpectedly, in order to remove Cloud Shinobi's stronghold in the Land of Water, Kurigakure actually mobilized the 7 ninja swordsmen. Tell me, what did you find? You would rather risk the failure of the mission to come to us. It must be a big deal. Lei Ya stood next to Goju Kazu, looking at Kobayakawa Kazuma with a little curiosity. Kobayakawa Kazuma nodded and organized his words to describe. Cloud Shinobi and the rebel ninjas joined forces in an attempt to launch an all-out war within Mist Shinobi. It currently appears that the seal scroll of the 3 tails is still in Kurigakure. Cloud Shinobi's people stole the scroll in order to release the 3 tails and cause Yagura your majesty's weakness. Kobayakawa Kazuma said matter-of-factly. Just when he was sending the letter, a war against the village was already brewing. The letter he sent was used by the Dark Knight organization to invite Cloud Shinobi to deal with Yagura. Kazuma Kobayakawa doesn't care about Yagura's life or death, but once the civil war in the village begins, Cloud Shinobi village will send ninjas to plunder. At that time, even the other ninja villages will come to take a share of the pie. If the large-scale civil war cannot be ended in a short period of time, the 4th ninja war may begin early, and the Kingdom of Water will become the center of the war vortex. You mean, those rats hiding in the dark are targeting Lord Yagura? Goji asked. Yes, Kazuma Kobayakawa agreed. My mission is to recover the lost seal scroll. Now, I must rush back to Kurigakure immediately. Without the seal scroll, maybe the Dark Knight organization will give up the idea of civil war. He put Samui down and added, now, I need the help of 2 people to get me back to Kurigakure as quickly as possible. If he returns according to the normal route, it will take Kazuma Kobayakawa at least a week. He not only needs to avoid the village's pursuit, but also bypasses Mist Shinobi's defense line. If we rely on this speed, by the time we return to Kurigakure, the civil war may have already begun. I understand. For the sake of the village, I will send you back. As for the facts you said, I will get evidence from Master Yagura. Goji bit his thumb, and he quickly formed seals and used the summoning technique. In an instant, a huge seagull appeared in front of Kobayakawa Kazuma and others. It will only take half a day for Taro Kaigull to send you back to Mist Shinobi. With my help, you will not be stopped by anyone. Go Tachibana asked Kazuma Kobayakawa to stand on the back of the bird, while he blocked Kobayakawa in front of Yijun. The seabirds emitted a clear cry, and after spreading their huge wings, which were as big as a large living room, they gradually flew high into the sky. The seabird slowly rose into the sky, and the oncoming airflow was cold on the face. Kazuma Kobayakawa hid his figure and headed for Kurigakure. With the help of Summoningmon, Kobayakawa Kazuma returned to Kurigakure in only half a day. When the seagulls landed in the center of Kurigakure, it was completely dark. The lights in residences' homes were sparse, and the atmosphere was quiet and peaceful. Kazuma Kobayakawa bid farewell to the Goju family, and then, he escaped from the watching ninjas and sneaked into the house. Brother Kazuma, are you back? Upon hearing the voice, Terumi Mei ran out of the bathroom wearing a yukata. She looked at Kazuma Kobayakawa with a long-lost smile on her face. Shish, Kobayakawa Kazuma signaled to be silent. The reason why he sneaked back home was just to give himself a guarantee. May, when this mission is over, come with me to Konoha. I have already taken care of the relationship. Kazuma Kobayakawa touched Terumi Mei's head and said softly. Yes. Terumi Mei nodded, her face flushed slightly, and she replied, wherever Brother Yijun goes, I will go. Kazuma Kobayakawa couldn't help but laugh. 18-year-old Terumi Mei is really cute. Although it is a little less charming, it is a little more innocent. Next, take this octopus to your room and hide it. I will be back at dawn. Kobayakawa Kazuma quickly formed the seal. Hi, Shu, Yu, Shen, Wei, summoning technique. An octopus appeared in front of Kazuma Kobayakawa. The octopus jumped up, its tentacles squirmed and clung to Kazuma Kobayakawa, with full resentment on its face. Didn't I say that? Don't use summoning when the octopus is hatching eggs, you idiot. The octopus complained as he spoke human words. Octopus balls, the moment the sun appears, summon me back with the reverse summoning technique. Kazuma Kobayakawa pulled the octopus balls off his body. After giving instructions, he left the house and disappeared into the vast night of the village. In the bar run by Terumi Masami, Kobayakawa Kazuma was sitting in the pub room, facing Terumi Masami alone, replying to the mission report. The letter has been delivered to the Cloud Shinobi Ninja. Kobayakawa Kazuma responded to the message as usual. He smiled and asked, now, can you have a child with me? Yummy. Terumi Masami showed a faint smile. She leaned close to Kobayakawa Kazuma and stroked Kobayakawa Kazuma's cheek with her palm. Kaido, Kizuma, after Yagura dies, we and Mei will rebuild the Terumi clan, okay? Terumi Masami's fingers touched the bags under Kobayakawa Kazuma's eyes, and the skin felt very warm. Kobayakawa Kazuma grabbed Terumi Masami's hand and said softly, okay, after the village is at peace, we will rebuild the Terumi clan. The atmosphere was a bit ambiguous, and Kazuma Kobayakawa kissed Masami Terumi on the cheek. After leaving the room, Kobayakawa Kazuma used the transformation technique to become a bartender and quietly walked into the bar's wine cellar. According to Fran's memory, there is a secret door under the wine cellar. The people from Cloud Shinobi are hiding in this bar, and the Three-Tails Scroll is guarded by Cloud Shinobi Village. Entering the wine cellar, Kazuma Kobayakawa rummaged carefully behind the barrels and suddenly touched a bulge. Press the protrusion, and a secret door will appear in front of you. After entering the secret door, there is a deep and long corridor. After passing through the corridor, you enter a courtyard. The courtyard is surrounded by high walls, and several houses are scattered in the courtyard like a chessboard. This courtyard is the hiding place of the Cloud Shinobi. The Cloud Shinobi ninjas usually hide here and do not go out. The Dark Knight organization provides all living supplies. As for these Cloud Shinobi ninjas, what they do is deliver the message to the people in Cloud Shinobi Village, and at the same time keep the Seal Scroll of Three Tails safe. The Three Tails Scroll is a secret weapon against Jinchuriki Yagura. As long as it is used at the right time, the three tails can be peeled off from Yagura's body, creating a chance to win. Kobayakawa Kazuma also understood that as long as he took away the Seal Scroll of Three Tails, the Dark Knight organization would lose the chance to kill Yagura, and they would have to give up this operation. And this is exactly what he wants to see. With the presence of Uchiha Obito, the Dark Knight organization's rebellion will definitely end in failure. Once a civil war breaks out in the village, Cloud Shinobi Village will only benefit. The death of a large number of Kurigakure's ninjas will make the Kingdom of Water extremely empty and become a fish and meat for the big powers to compete for. After searching quietly in various rooms, Kazuma Kobayakawa found an ordinary person and used the Tuma technique to determine the room where the Cloud Shinobi ninja was hiding. Taking advantage of the darkness, Kobayakawa Kazuma opened the door to the room, sneaked in and closed the door. Suddenly, two shurikens were shot at Kobayakawa Kazuma's position. As the shurikens were shot on the wooden door, the chandelier in the room also lit up. In front of Kazuma Kobayakawa, two black-skinned ninjas were standing guard with kunai in their hands. One of them was disheveled and looked like he was not ready yet. Another ninja with short blonde hair and a green ninja suit stood in the middle of the room. Kobayakawa Kazuma, have you finally come to die? The ninja with short blonde hair clenched his right hand, and a black thunder and lightning wrapped around his shoulder. It was Cloud Shinobi's unique ninjutsu, Black Thunder. Do you know me? Kazuma Kobayakawa was quite surprised and asked subconsciously. Yes, that guy Troy is my companion. He should have become Jonin, because you completely ruined his ninja career. The blonde ninja smiled confidently and changed the topic. But now, you will die here, because I am the real Jonin. Even Terumi Masami was defeated by me. The blonde ninja flashed and appeared behind Kazuma Kobayakawa. He punched Kazuma Kobayakawa against the wall with one punch, leaving a human-shaped depression. Cough. Kazuma Kobayakawa felt pain all over his body. His bones seemed to be broken. He spat out a mouthful of blood when he opened his mouth, and his internal organs even ruptured due to the blow. The room is too small for Kazuma Kobayakawa to take advantage of, and Cloud Shinobi's ninjas are too strong. Their unique ninjutsu can crush Kazuma Kobayakawa to death in such a small space. Thinking of this, Kobayakawa Kazuma moved his hands and feet, causing himself to peel off from the wall. He knelt on the ground with one knee, as if he had exhausted all his strength. Seeing Cloud Shinobi's men releasing black thunder again, Kazuma Kobayakawa gritted his teeth and crossed his hands to quickly form a seal. This was a seal that did not belong to any ninjutsu. Cross the index fingers of the left and right hands to complete the seal. Gurren technique. The ground in the room shook violently, and a huge crystal burst out from under the feet, almost filling the entire room. The crystal took on an irregular shape, like a huge lotus flower carved from crystal. And this beautiful lotus naturally comes with great danger. As long as it is frozen by crystals, the tissues on the body will be crystallized along with the crystals until they eventually die. However, the first time he used this ninjutsu, Kobayakawa Kazuma was still unable to grasp the power and accuracy of the ninjutsu, which also caused Crystal Style to miss a little, causing the Cloud Shinobi Jonin to escape the attack with half of his body. The Cloud Shinobi Ninja, half of his body already grown with the crystal, struggled desperately. His right hand hit the crystal, and black lightning exploded, causing the crystal to shatter together with his lower body. It hurts. The ninja's cry broke the silent night. He watched his lower body shatter into powder and let out a painful roar. The crystallized body parts had long since lost their sense of pain. It was fear that made him scream so pitifully. Wait a minute, please spare my life. I can give you the seal scroll. Although the ninja lost his lower body, his will to survive was still there. Seeing Kobayakawa Kazuma slowly approaching, only the remaining fear. He took out the seal scroll from his ninja tool bag and placed it in front of Kazuma Kobayakawa, with tears in his eyes and a desire for life. Just a second ago, he thought he could easily kill Kobayakawa Kazuma, but now, he was begging miserably for mercy. Although Crystal Style's spell is not fast enough, it is extremely damaging and cannot be avoided in this small room. Foolish, I'll kill you. The sealing scroll will also be mine. Kobayakawa Kazuma opened his fingers towards the opponent. In an instant, several crystal balls appeared in the air. The crystal balls shot out like bullets and penetrated the opponent's brain. As several crystals fell, the ninja's upper body quickly crystallized and shattered into pieces. As a last resort, Kobayakawa Kazuma still used the crystal style, and the two people who witnessed him using the crystal style must not survive. Since most of the two people's property was buried in the red lotus crystal, Kazuma Kobayakawa did not intend to spend time touching the corpse, so he just broke off the hand of the Cloud Shinobi Jonin and took the seal scroll. This is still the territory of the Dark Knight organization, and the movement just now must have attracted the attention of those who were interested. If you continue to stay here, someone will definitely come to investigate over time, and you must escape quickly. Kazuma Kobayakawa stuffed the seal scroll into his ninja bag and prepared to evacuate. Suddenly, a thick fog filled the room, and the incandescent lamps and mahogany wardrobes in the room began to melt, turning into a pile of mud within a moment. Seeing the melted furniture in the room, Kazuma Kobayakawa felt heavy. This ninjutsu is not the Mist Shinobi technique, but the lava style. The Mist Shinobi technique is a ninjutsu that can melt even Susanna and has extremely strong corrosive power. After breaking open the door, Kobayakawa Kazuma used the teleportation technique to escape. Terumi Masami looked into the room through the broken door, her pupils trembling. The entire room was wrapped in a lotus-like crystal. Cloud Shinobi's Jonin and Chunin both died in the crystal, and their bodies slowly shattered along with the crystal. Kobayakawa Kazuma, did you do all this? Terumi Masami looked towards the middle of the courtyard. Kobayakawa Kazuma put the ninja sword into its sheath and turned his back to her. Terumi Masami knew that the two ninjas of Cloud Shinobi were very powerful. That Jonin could even use Third Raikage's signature ninjutsu, Black Thunder, and was even stronger than her, the veteran Jonin. Unexpectedly, in just a few seconds, Cloud Shinobi's Jonin was buried in the room by Kazuma Kobayakawa. The ninjutsu that appeared in the room undoubtedly did not belong to any kind of basic chakra change, and could only be explained as the blood inheritance limit. Kazuma Kobayakawa is not an ordinary ninja, but a true blood successor ninja. Yes, for Kurigakure, there are some things I have to do. Kobayakawa Kazuma responded truthfully, and he also had something to say to Terumi Masami. There are not many Terumi clan members left, and Kobayakawa Kazuma does not want Terumi Masami to die. Why, didn't you promise that the three of us would rebuild the Terumi clan together? Terumi Masami's eyes turned cold, and her tone was cold. Are the love words you told me before all lies? Yagura, he can't die yet, Kobayakawa Kazuma said in a cold tone and walked out of the courtyard. Although Yagura is inhumane, now, Yagura is still needed to preside over the overall situation of Mist Shinobi. With Yagura around, Cloud Shinobi wouldn't dare to attack in a big way. But once Yagura is lost, Mist Shinobi will become the Uzumaki of the war. By then, it will not only be the blood successor ninjas who will die, but also the civilians and ordinary ninjas in the village will die in large numbers, and even the family members of Kobayakawa Kazuma will not be killed. Exception. Now, Kobayakawa Kazuma has only one idea, and that is to return to his life, and after becoming Jonin, go to Konoha village. In Konoha, he has access to resources and opportunities that far exceed those of Cloud Shinobi, and his strength can also increase rapidly. Terumi Masami finally realized that she could not convince Kobayakawa Kazuma. Her hands formed a seal and her mouth bulged. Lava style. Monster melting technique. A mass of sludge-like substance was ejected from Terumi Masami's mouth and attacked towards Kobayakawa Kazuma's position. Kazuma Kobayakawa used the technique to dodge, and the soil under his feet was corroded to create a large pit. The liquid continued to corrode, and the land continued to collapse. This is the lava style passed down from generation to generation by the Terumi clan. Once hit by that ninjutsu, not only the clothes and skin, but also the bones will melt. Similar to crystal style, lava style is a ninjutsu that is extremely dangerous to the human body. Sister Masami, I hope you give up revenge. With your qualifications, not to mention killing Yagura, you can't even win against the 7 ninja swordsmen. Kobayakawa Kazuma persuaded again. Terumi Masami's ninja qualifications are only C. Such qualifications like Kazuma Kobayakawa, being able to become a Jonin is already the upper limit of this qualification. After saying that, Kobayakawa Kazuma formed a seal with one hand, opened his mouth and spit out a cloud of thick fog, and then quickly escaped under the cover of the thick fog. Leaving the courtyard, Kobayakawa Kazuma arrived on the streets of Kurigakure. There were rows of houses and darkness everywhere. Under the moonlight, Kobayakawa Kazuma stepped on the roof tiles and ran towards the Mizukage building in the distance. Veins popped up on Terumi Masami's hands, and she said angrily, "Idiot! Why do you think I'm capable?" In front of Terumi Masami, a figure slowly walked out of the thick fog. His hair was blue, and he was holding a ninja sword that looked like 2 flounders put together. "Miss Terumi, you were really careless. Such an important thing was stolen by a Chunin." Ghost Man Yu showed a sarcastic smile to Terumi Mei. His jagged teeth made it easy to recognize his identity. Even though Kido Mangetsu has just turned 18, his strength has already surpassed that of Jonin and he can use the twin swords. In today's Kurigakure, he is almost the strongest person under Yagura. Terumi Masami looked ugly and said angrily, "If you are just here to watch the show, you don't have to show up." Wei Dang Man Yu shrugged and asked, "Should I die or live?" Terumi Masami breathed out slowly and said softly, "Save him alive. He is my brother after all. There are some things I want to ask him personally." What a willful woman. Wei Dang Man Yu carried the 2 swords and disappeared into the night. Kobayakawa Kazuma ran towards the Mizukage building, and the moonlight above his head had disappeared. The time now has arrived in the second half of the night, which is the darkest time of the night. He knew clearly that as long as he entered the central area of Kurigakure and was supported by the Mist Shinobi ninjas, he would be safe. Suddenly, a stream of blue light caught up from behind, and Ghost Manu was running faster than Kazuma Kobayakawa. He held two swords in his hands and swatted at Kazuma Kobayakawa. Kobayakawa Kazuma quickly took out his ninja sword to block. The huge force of the turtle made Kobayakawa Kazuma fly out like a baseball. His body fell from the roof to the ground and rolled for more than 10 meters before stopping. Kazuma Kobayakawa wiped the bloodline from the corner of his mouth, supported his body with his ninja sword and stood up. In the battle with the Cloud Shinobi ninja, he had already been injured once, and now faced with the full moon of the ghost lamp, his strength was no longer what he expected. However, he also knew very well that without using the crystal style, he was not qualified to fight against the 7 ninja swordsmen. The 7 ninja swordsmen are Mist Shinobi's ninjas second only to Mizukage Yagura. They compete with the elite Jonin of Konoha village. Their strength is beyond what he alone can handle. Even if you use crystal style to fight, it may not be able to change the situation in such an empty area. What is peace? Seeing that he could not escape, Kazuma Kobayakawa decided to delay for a while. There are still about 3 hours until dawn. As long as this time passes, Octopus Ball will use the reverse summoning technique to summon himself home. Huh. Ghost Manu looked at Kazuma Kobayakawa in surprise and asked, "Did I break your brain?" Kazuma Kobayakawa's face turned red. If it weren't for his physical injuries, he really wanted to rush forward and fight the Ghost Full Moon, and send the Ghost Full Moon to the west with a crystal style. This kid's words are so insulting. I'm asking you, what is peace? Kobayakawa Kazuma increased his voice and asked again, "You secretly organized a rebellion against the village. Didn't you think about the children in the village and those innocent people? I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more."